At 8 o'clock, health insurance is another kind of insurance that is necessary. Nyeri Njomo, who is the Chief Executive and Principal Officer at Jubilee Health Insurance, will be with us at 8 a.m. And round this off at 9 o'clock with Umi Bashir. She is the Principal Secretary in the State Department for Culture, the Arts and Heritage. Safeguarding and promoting Kenya's culture and heritage is what we'll be talking about at 9 a.m. today. And we get into those conversations now. Gentlemen, good morning. CT, how are you?
Morning, do.
How are you?
Very well, thank you, do.
Mm-hmm.
And how are you?
Fine. Thank you. How are you, Eric?
I am fine, thank you.
You're fine, thank you.
Yes, I am.
Well done.
Yes. Nakuona.
No, you're not happy.
Hapa.
Yeah, that's good
Hapa
because
ulipo. Hapa ulipo.
Nico.
Upomo.
What are those? What's upomo?
Upo.
Oh, yeah.
Hapo.
What are you in translation? Where iko?
Mimi iko. Mimi iko.
Upo humo ndani. Mumo humo. Mumo humo. Hapa ndani.
Where were you when the heavens opened yesterday?
Yeah?
Where were you when the heavens opened yesterday?
They opened at night where I think I was heading to bed.
Yeah, because it was quite a thing, wasn't it? No, but it was ridiculously hot yesterday, man. Jeez.
One moment, you hear strange sound, you're thinking, what's that sound? Then you realize, oh, it's rain, isn't it?
It's rain and
then
deluge.
Kumbe situ umekuwa off mic all this time.
I'm just talking to myself.
Hello.
So now when you greeted me so nicely, nobody heard you?
Imagine.
Ebu Rudia?
Hello, Do. Hello, Eric.
Story.
How is life? And am I now on?
Now you're on.
Okay.
Like Donkey Kong.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right.
Go on sasa. Go on sawa kabisa.
Kabisa.
Yes.
Yes.
How's it going? It's good?
The going is good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very good. Hiyo
Very
yote
good.
ni maendeleo.
Na wewe iko good?
Yangu iko good.
Tunatakana namna hiyo.
Very good. Very
good. Life is good.
It is going well. Hiya, you've told us what we'll be discussing, yes, Sindio? The live stream is on, right? Isn't it? It is. Even you do you kumbe you also. The live stream is up. Kila kitu mambo inaendelea sawa.
Okay, now we are good.
Mambo sasa iko sawa?
Iko poa.
Iko so. Okay. Let's do the weather. Sindio? You tell us why it will be raining today. What's happening in Beijing? What's that?
It's raining and snowing at the same time. Have you ever seen such a phenomenon?
Wow.
And it's not raining. It's not raining snowflakes. It's raining water.
So it's snowing rain.
Hey.
So it's combination water guan.
Hey. Allah. Interesting. Okay. Tell us about the weather.
Sawa.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
This morning is 17 degrees. We'll see highs of 25 and lows of 16. It's 16 and clear in Nakuru, highs of 27, and mostly clear at 15 in Nyeri with highs of 26. We're looking at clear conditions at 14 in Eldoret with highs of 26 and lows of 14. In Mombasa this morning at 28, highs of 33 and lows of 27, while we'll see partly cloudy conditions at 29 in Malindi with highs of 33. Into Kisumu is 18 and partly cloudy, highs of 30 and it's 16 degrees, and clear in Kakamega, highs of 30. 21 and clear in Kampala, highs of 28 and lows of 20, and at 27, Dar es Salaam is mostly cloudy with highs of 37. It's 17 and highs of 32, I beg your pardon. At 17, Johannesburg is mostly cloudy, highs of 29, and Mogadishu at 27 is mostly cloudy, we'll see highs of 34. Addis Ababa this morning is cloudy at 13 with highs of 24, and looking into Lagos, it's mostly clear at 27 with highs of 33. Mostly cloudy at 25 in Kinshasa with highs of 34 and lows of 25. We're looking into a rainy and snowy Beijing, 3 degrees. Tuesday afternoon, we'll see highs of 5 and lows of 0. Into Paris, it's cloudy at 7 with highs of 9 and lows of 5, while London at 6 is cloudy with highs of 11 and lows of 3. New York, Monday night, cloudy at 8, highs of 15 and lows of 6.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM,
Are you able to
Nairobi.
tell who's online this morning?
Yes, we are. Good morning to you, Raphael Kige, first in the house, and says, good morning, factual people. Thanks for keeping us on toes. Welcome on your toes. Evans Ntabo says, Karibu back kwa hewa. Yes, yes. Robert Bogo says, good morning from Mombasa. And Picha Caricho says, good morning, good people. Can't wait to hear the hot topic this morning. Tuned in from Arizona. Onganyi Malala says, good morning, people. You are doing a good job. Be blessed. Asante. Our fact said Makori is also tuned in. Says, good morning. Jennifer Tenyi, good morning, my darlings. I missed the show yesterday. Why did you do that? Don't do it again. John Mwangi. Salam alaikum, guys. Alaikum salam, John. And Gore. Chamge, my beautiful people. Greetings from the beautiful hills of Sapoti, Trans Nzoia, Kitale. All those places at once. Now, Penda Sana, Sikum Jema, Huonekana Subui. Okay. Sindo.
Yeah.
Cliff Ombachi says, good morning, great people watching from Kisi City. In addition to proverbs from Swatini, a cat that dreams of becoming a lion must lose appetite for rats.
A what?
A cat that dreams of becoming a lion, Simba, must lose appetite for rats.
So yanze kula swara.
What's swara?
Afanye trisex.
What's swara?
Gazelle, antelope, all those
Gazelle,
things.
antelope,
Hoof.
dick.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So
So
a cat
you-
now must eat.
You start cooling
So it must move from
from rats.
rat to maybe rabbit
And then rabbits too.
as it ascends the pole.
Gotcha. Okay. Robinson Kisero says, good morning from Hong Kong. Yeah, everybody here. Ombaso is not here. She's under the weather and she'll get over the weather soon. Amakayo Keo says, good morning. Job Monyoncho says, Vidse from Kilifi. Vidse, I learned, that's what I remember I learned when we were in Kilifi. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Kiplagat Eric says, good morning, tuned in the road to town. Okay. Asante Nyasai.
That's good.
Nyasai is God. Okay. For another day. Wishing you all Siku Njema. Raphael Kige says, what's that whistling sound always when you're reading the online comments? Birds? Yes, it is. It's a tweet. That one. Lawrence Njane says, good morning from Gasaraji Junction. I'm excited today. I love this show. Well, great to have you here, Lawrence. Efantas Ndungo says, good morning. Frequency 102.5 is not playing. What is in Kisumu? Tutacheki. Good morning, people. You're tuned in. Can't reach you on radio and YouTube. Wow. Why? But we're here. Mama. Lilian Ateno is tuned in, and you can't reach us. How are you tuned in then, sister? Jacinta Wamboy says, hi, San Francisco tuned in, good people. Lillian, okay. Kisumu Jana Naleo Z.
Yo Trangalia.
Jolly. Kennedy Wanjala says, good morning from Kilifi. Our folks on Facebook, also, we see you there. Never to leave you behind. Thank you for always joining us, everybody. Karibuni sana. And yeah.
Kabisa. City. Proverb today.
We are still in the country of
In the kingdom.
Swatini.
So the king, the M is also silent.
No.
King
I have a question.
Swati.
How come we've never heard about the Queen? All we ever hear about is the virgins and the reed dance. How come we never hear about the Queen if there's a kingdom?
Because there's not one queen, there are queens.
No, there is a lot about queens.
All those reed dances
The
are
one,
queen,
the one
queens
queen
in
bee.
waiting.
Yani the wife of the
There's-
king.
Yes,
Hakuna?
there's info.
Is there?
Yeah.
Yes,
But I'm saying-
she exists.
What comes to light is you hear about the king Swati and you hear about the virgins and the reed dance.
Yeah.
That you don't hear as much of the queen as you do about these two others.
Well, what would be the equivalent of the reed dance performed by men?
That should be fun to watch.
Because they wouldn't be bearing their chests, would they?
I have no comment this morning. I see you are in a naughty way.
Well, I'm merely pontificating because
They do those in Papua New Guinea, don't they?
in Papua New Guinea,
Where the reed is a bamboo.
actually, it is. You know these gourds that they use for drinking.
Yes.
Not the big ones for storing milk. The ones
small
that use
calabash.
The small calabash. That one.
The thin ones.
Yes, they are actually used as a protective gear.
As a cover.
I got you.
Oh my God.
I got you.
Yes. So,
As you were.
any serious?
So you go shopping
Well, you can go
You
shopping.
need to stop.
for your size.
Yes.
You need to stop
Oh,
now.
you're giving a gift.
You need to stop forthwith. In fact, both of you need to check yourselves. And you need to read the proverb.
We were talking about the kingdom of Swatini.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oi, 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 oi. It's an interesting country. Okay. This one, I particularly like. That one about read. A poor man is hungry after eating.
What?
So
A poor man is hungry after eating.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, today is a very auspicious day. It's my brother's birthday.
Wycliffe?
Isaac.
Isaac. We hardly hear of Isaac.
Yes, Isaac is my youngest brother.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Where is he?
He lives in Mombasa.
Okay.
Isaac, happy birthday.
Happy
Fanya ile.
Happy birthday, Isaac. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Isaac.
Yes.
Isakamuga.
Yes.
Sakamuga. Happy birthday to you. May the good Lord bless you. May he guide you and keep you. Happy birthday, Isaac.
Kabisa, kabisa.
The brother,
Higher.
the brother has hit 60.
Yeah.
Oh, diamond.
No. Higher. Headline, Basi.
Oh, yeah. So, on the front page of the Standard this morning, court blow, boom, for Ruto and Gachagua over tribalism. Wololo. Judge declares the appointment of 1,402 revenue assistants unconstitutional for being skewed in favor of Kikuyu and Kalenjin communities. KRA Chairman Anthony Mora's home constituencies got the lion's share of the slots. Roar.
Coincidental, bwana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They are Kenyans.
Okay. Doctors to down tools in the next 7 days.
Okay.
The medic staged demonstrations across the country over failure to post interns and postgraduate fees they claim is exorbitant. They vowed to go on strike starting the 11th of March, which is next week. AU job Mount Kenya rumbles with talk of new alliances. And there's a bid to break the Kenya power monopoly. Is it? Safaricom Ethiopia to surpass Kenya. Why? How? Well, that seems to have done well. Nakuru, a pale shadow of former industrial giant, is what is being covered on page 4 and 5 today. Lawyer, Taylor, battle over burnt Italian suit. Somebody burnt an Italian suit. Cost.
Can you imagine?
What?
35,000.
35,000. Said he's not going to pay. So he decided, you know what? None of us are having it.
Twende kotini.
Fire. On the front page of The Nation this morning, KRA tax shocker for farmers and businesses. The Kenya Revenue Authority has rescinded its decision to exempt farmers as well as small businesses with an annual turnover of less than 5 million shillings from the requirement to produce electronic invoices for their sales as the government moves to seal leakages and boost collections from hard-to-tax areas. You get it? Okay. Kenya launches Raila campaign for top AU post. Mudavadi woos African envoys in the city. Stealing from the needy. Audit faults counties on bursary funds and alleges theft. That all this money that people line up to collect in the morning at 3 before the birds have even started chirping. It's possible that that's not all the money that's available. And that somebody's got their hands in the cookie jar.
Okay.
What doctors want, we will not settle for less despite the threat on our lives. And the looming possibility of the strike come the 11th of March is getting darker and darker. In the tickers this morning, court clears the way for housing bill. The High Court has dismissed a petition challenging the Affordable Housing Bill 2023, saying there was adequate public participation before it was passed. So that story out.
Okay.
On the back page of The Nation, county bursaries at risk. This is the same thing we're talking about now. The COB says, Hapakuna shi.
Da.
Deal between Kome and Sakaja sees court returned to City Hall. Remember, there was one. There was a court at City Hall. And for reasons best known to themselves, it was removed. But now, for reasons best known to themselves, it's being reinstituted. We'll look at that story later. Voila.
Business Daily. Men to cover multiple wives in state health insurance scheme. Polygamous men will start getting medical cover for all their wives and declared children at no extra cost in a departure from the NHIF rules that cover one spouse and 5 children. Health CS Susan Nakumicha says the changes will be under the SHA, the Social Health Authority, 3 funds, Social Health Insurance Fund, the Primary Healthcare Fund, and the Emergency Critical and Chronic Fund that are set to replace the NHIF from July. The arrangement will be a win for polygamous families that had been left part of their members to depend on the more expensive out-of-pocket medical expenses. Sasa, wewe, bibi yako yote, watoto yote, one cover.
Good thing, huh?
Yeah.
Very good.
It's progressive.
No, it's very, very progressive. Something recognizes our reality.
Look at this one.
What?
Oh, yeah.
He's very happy.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good.
No, this is
It
very
was discriminatory before. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And you have many wives, then you can only do insurance for one of them.
Surely.
Okay.
So the others, just think about the children. The other children are not covered.
No, this one is
Just
good.
because.
All you do is you count the number of people, then you charge according to the number of people. It's good business.
It's very good business.
Hiya. Kwale Titanium miner to spend 1 billion shillings on staff layoffs. That company, Base Titanium, has set aside 1.1 billion shillings to compensate hundreds of workers set to be laid off as it winds down its Kenyan operation by the end of this year. The company made the redundancy provision in its financials for the 6 months ended December last year, indicating it's on course to close down the Kwale operation upon depletion of commercially viable ore. How many years has this company mined this ore?
That's what I wanted to ask you. Did they find anything?
They did. And they were taking it all off to Australia.
To Australia. Now they want to shut down after they've collected what they could collect. Now
That's
they want
how
to
it
go.
works.
But ticker headlines: How real estate put Kenya on the money laundering grey list. The 411 registered real estate agents filed only 2 suspicious transaction reports to the Financial Reporting Centre in the 5 years to 2021. A deficiency that might be exploited by criminals who want to conceal their dirty cash. Kenya's real estate, buildings coming up. Where is the money coming from? People are wondering, kama hii ama hii ni pesa hii ni laundry too. Farmers, small traders to file e-teams invoices in KRA U-turn. The taxman has rescinded its decision to exempt farmers and small firms with an annual turnover below 5 million shillings from producing invoices through the e-teams. Sasa, everybody, you gotta do an invoice. Are we together? So you are a small farmer, you are supplying Naivas, you A-teams, my friend. Foreigners, NSE net sales hit 1 billion shillings in February. That's foreign investors who hastened their exit from the NSE, recording a net selling position of 1 billion bob. 1 billion shillings left the Nairobi Securities Exchange in February alone. City.
Yes, please.
Do you have the star?
I do not have the start. It's Tuesday,
how?
remember?
Oh, it is Tuesday. Chukua hiyo.
Okay. So Tuesday took the paper. That is New Tuesday. Right. Top right-hand corner in teal green. This is good news. Free copy of the Star and MyGov. All right. Report reveals staffing chaos in public service. Goodness. Kenya Civil Service faces several staffing challenges, with some departments having bloated workforce, really, while others face acute shortage, really, again. Ugali under threat as farmers ditch maize. Okay, is it now? The planting season is here, but Charles Kiptum, a maize farmer in Kapkol scheme, Trans Nzoia County will be ditching maize for the first time in 36 years. This 2-year-old farmer has been harvesting an average 20 bags per acre for a 20-acre parcel and says the production costs have continued to erode yields in the past decade. So, ugali is going to be expensive. Okay?
Because this one farmer has moved through. What is it going to now?
They say it on page 11. That's what I will tell you later.
Avocado.
But maybe it's avocado.
Okay.
Maybe it's guava. I don't know. Anyway, changing lives. Hamisa, women who did not let polio ruin her life.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time, her father Malim could not get children, and this made him go to great lengths, including going to Mecca for the Hajj in search of at least one. After the Hajj, God blessed him with a firstborn daughter, Hamisa Malim Zaja, at an advanced age of almost 70. This was after trying for a baby with 62 other women. That was in 1970.
Trying for a baby with 62 other women? Is that what you said?
Yes, that's what I've just read.
Okay.
He tried.
Okay.
Fellow probably had a low sperm count. But
Probably.
yes.
And then this one came, and
Yes.
then this one got polio.
Yes.
Sheesh, man.
But got a child nonetheless. Okay?
Wait, who had polio?
The daughter, the girl.
And now the girl also got a child.
No.
The daughter got a child.
She's the one who had polio.
The child that was gotten after trying many times
Got
is
polio.
the one that had polio.
That's how it went.
Okay.
So,
Does she have a family now? The daughter?
that's what I'll tell you.
In page 11.
On page, no, this one's on page 22. Just twice the other page.
Okay.
Now, exclusive. Airwing technically dead and capable of responding to emergencies. God Almighty. This is now police airwing, okay? Grounded helicopters crippled police air power, all right? We've never really witnessed that air power, really. So when you say crippled, one wonders what you're talking about.
The police.
Yes. One hasn't witnessed it. I mean, we know it exists.
What is witnessing?
Witnessing is, for instance, something happening and we see a police chopper arriving. That one is
You
witnessing.
don't see it?
Yeah, see it where?
Police helicopter all the time.
The last time I heard it crashed and it killed the Minister for
Saitoti.
Interior and the Assistant Minister.
During
That's the
COVID, there was a helicopter that used to chop a laps at night.
That was police.
Bright light.
That was police
That was
helicopter.
police helicopter.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, then that's just one. So if they're saying patrol suspend after 24 air assets the wing had reduced to only 4. Aye.
Where did they go?
God
Eco
almighty.
garage.
This one, Eco Garage. Then they explain these numbers, how many they are. Quite a number, man. We even have helicopter.
Have what? Helicopter.
2077. Traffic. Sawa.
All right, let's see what's happening now. A few minutes after 6:30, and still we're looking at quite some traffic on Haile Selassie. It's also starting to build up on the thicker superhighway coming into the city, heavy as you get towards Survey and then out towards the Pangani underpass. There's also traffic on Kangunda Road this morning as you approach Outer Ring, and on Jago Road coming in from Manyanja Road. That's also pretty busy. We will see a build up of traffic. It's starting now from Cabanas, North Airport Road, and then out towards the Outer Ring Junction. That is already starting to build. On Ngong Road, doesn't look too bad as you get through towards the Hurlingham Junction. Then there's some traffic, but before that I think we're fine. Let's just keep an eye on what's happening on Red Hill Link Road already this morning, and we'll come back to you in a short while and see how that progresses. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room. Keep things moving this morning.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM,
26
Nairobi.
7.
Let me tell you what the doctors want.
Okay.
Abi?
Okay.
Or you wanted to tell you about the 62?
What the doctor ordered.
All right. There are 1,110 medical interns who are yet to be posted, despite the internship policy stating that they should be posted 30 days after they graduate. That has not been the case for almost a year. Now, the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacies and Dentists Union is calling on the government to allocate 15% of the country's annual budget, approximately 569 billion shillings, to health to solve problems within the sector that they say stem from inadequate resource allocation, misplaced priorities, over-reliance on donor funding and corruption. There are proposals that have been made in addition to this: annual recruitment of doctors as is done by the disciplined forces, purchasing of hospital equipment instead of leasing, encouraging local manufacturing of health products and technologies, amending law to consider human resource for health as development, putting health facilities to levels 1, 2 and 3 under counties, while levels 4 and 5 and 6 should fall under the national government. So those are some of the suggestions that are being made at the moment. What else are they saying? Should you not then listen to what we are saying, we will then go on strike. The union wants the public... Sorry?
When end the strike?
Monday.
Okay.
The union wants the Public Finance Management Act amended to consider human resource for health as development, and also proposes the reorganization of the health delivery system to have community health practitioners in levels 1, 2 and 3 managed by county, like I just said, and 4, 5 and 6 managed by the national government. Deputy Secretary General Dennis Miskela said that the government should operationalize the Facility Improvement Fund to allow hospitals to protect and utilize their own funds. They say that the biggest challenge of the healthcare system is funding. It's the funding that will hire doctors and buy drugs. A social scheme can only work in a country where everyone earns a formal salary. In a country where 80% of the people are formally employed, you can deduct from them to fund healthcare. But in a country where 80% of our economy is informal, this means that people will only pay for healthcare when they are sick. We need to find a way of establishing some form of health tax, such as allocating 1 or 2% of money from every service to fund healthcare. So they basically said that the way the government is going about it at the moment is wrong. That the only way that you can have a functioning health fund is when you have the majority of your population in formal employment, so that the deductibles then are very clear. In this case, when it's informal to the larger percentage, then it becomes very difficult to realize those deductibles. Okay? They've said that a number of things are then hindering them from doing their job. The 15%, as is recommended and ratified by Kenya as one of those countries of the Abuja Declaration, that is still not being done, number one. And number two, according to the Act, the interns who were hired 30 days after graduation should have been given jobs. That has not happened. So there's a raft of things that the doctors and medical practitioners are not happy about. And they said, should you not address these issues qualitatively, come the 11th of March, we shall not go to work.
This issue, by the way, of healthcare workers, it'll need to have an open discussion again at national level. Because I think the counties have gotten to a point where, remember, there's the public finance management law that says you cannot spend more than 70% of the money on recurrent expenditure. Salaries are recurrent expenditure. The bulk of recurrent expenditure in counties is paying healthcare workers. Health workers are the majority of workers in county, employed by county. So if counties have hit that ceiling, now they are at a level where, okay, I'd like to employ more, but if I employ, I flout the law. And maybe that's why Atela is talking about considering health workforce as development expenditure. It will bring the same headache, because all your development will pay doctors and nurses and clinicians. Here's one.
Tricky.
It's tricky. Some two big wins for men. Polygamous men will start getting medical cover for all their wives and declared children at no extra cost, in a move that will mark a departure from NHIF rules. Health CS Susan Nakumicha says the changes will be under the Social Health Authority's 3 funds. The arrangement will be a win-win for polygamous families that had left part of their members exposed to out-of-pocket medical expenses because of the current regulations that only recognize 1 wife and 5 children. I must acknowledge, as a woman reading through some of the feedback, my most favorite one was where men were asking, what happens if they have more than 1 wife? If I was allowed to respond as a wife, I would say no to others. That's what she said. the CS. But as CS for Health, we are saying we don't want to leave anyone behind. We are going to take care of all households as requested in the feedback from the public. The Kenya National Bureau of Statistics data from the 2019 census said that 3% or 497,125 women aged 12 years and above were in polygamous marriages. 497,125 by 2019. Wow. The same data showed that 2.8% or about 446,230 men aged 12 years and above were in polygamous marriages.
How do you say a man is 12 years?
What do you mean, how do you say a man is 12 years?
A man aged 12 years and above.
12 years
you
a
call
child.
a 12-year-old a man?
Yes.
No, you can't.
Take this view.
You can call it, but he's not.
Take the view.
Okay, you can say boys to men.
Yes.
12 years and above.
Thank
Yes,
you. It's
like
very
that.
important.
Yes.
They are males.
Yes.
Let's just say male people.
But it's very important. You
sample
understand
size.
why I'm insisting
Yeah,
on
yes,
12
yes,
and
yes.
above.
Sample size. Also, it could mean. Just keep reading. I'm not going to accept this.
So that is what is happening. Another win. A Nairobi businessman who was kicked out by a woman that he had cohabited with for 25 years will finally enjoy 30% of the wealth they created while living together.
Really, they created.
They created for 25 years. The man, known as POM to protect his identity, will not only collect rent from 11 out of the 38 commercial and residential units comprising 1- and 2-bedroom units and shops, but he'll also benefit from the rent collected from the premises from the time he was kicked out in 2011. High Court Judge Hilary Chemitei ordered compliance with a Supreme Court ruling that gave the man a 30% share of the wealth. The dispute stems from a case on division of wealth which was contested up to the Supreme Court. The Apex Court had declared that there was no marriage between the two parties, but still held that the man was entitled to 30% and the woman 70% of the wealth after finding they both had legal interest. The man had instituted the case against the woman whom he claimed to be his wife. His argument was that they began cohabiting as husband and wife sometime in 1986, and that from joint savings they purchased a property that later became the bone of contention after he was evicted from it. The man explained that the property was registered in the woman's name because its owner was not comfortable selling to him since he was not from the seller's tribe. The guy who was selling the property looks and says he was not going to sell to this guy because kabila yake.
Yeah.
So the wife was from a more acceptable kabila. So they agreed, let's register it in
Her name.
her name. They continued living 1986 to 2011. The property was registered in the woman's name, although we had both contributed to its acquisition, he said, adding that they took possession of the property between 1992 and 1993. They thereafter developed and constructed rooms thereon, one of which they used as their matrimonial home and rented out the others. He claimed to have done all the legwork relating to the connection of electricity, sewer, water to the premises, and he operated a bar from the premises. He, however, lamented that the woman kicked him out despite his contribution towards the acquisition and development of the property.
It's a very unfair something.
He was kicked out. It went all the way to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, yes, okay, so there's nothing that proves that there was marriage here. It was cohabitation. But then we can see that both of you have legal rights to, legal interest in this particular one. So give him 30, 70. She still didn't give. Guy went back to the High Court. High Court judges now said,
Ni nini na wewe?
kwanza from 2011 ile rent umekuwa collect 30%, patie huyu mzee. Na hii mambo mwache hii.
Chana kuja hapa kutusumbua hapa.
Kula watu hapa. Boy child. City?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
There are many stories here. Many. But let me focus on the story of Hamisa. It's a child is born after father had tried for years on end.
With many women.
And with minimum success. So the child was taken for operations. The polio Yamigu, one leg. Thought things happened. I mean, many things happened to this girl.
They didn't vaccinate her, Abi?
No.
Those days.
It was a roll of the dice in those days. So if I look at the lady in the picture, I don't know how it is they missed out, because this was something that the government did then as a matter of course.
Yes, no. Proper.
If they just went around and made it, just like with it's like akin to the census. They went around, and when you had been vaccinated, you were given a certificate of sorts, so you knew.
But even now it happens. The reason why they keep doing these emergency polio vaccinations is because they've detected an infection. So,
Yes.
So it still happens.
Yes. Anyway, the long and the short story of this is that being a child who was born out of such enormous difficulties, okay, one of the things that has been the highlight of her life, in 2023, she won the Women Building Peace Award in Washington, D.C. That is a big thing. Remember, her father had her when he was 70 years old.
Wow.
Started school, got polio. Underwent treatment, difficulties, went to school, all these things. And the problem was, because of that disability, her life was not very easy. Now, why this is a story about how this woman overcame difficulty, she now went on to help others. That is why she won this award. After schooling, after education, decided now she's going to get into the do-gooding business. And this is what eventually earned her this award. You know, it's not as though they look for people to give these awards. Like, okay, who shall we give today? No. There must be a track record of what someone has done. But the remarkable thing about Hamisa Zaja is that she herself overcame difficulties in her own life. And this did not taint, neither did it poison her life. It gave her the impetus to now help others.
Yeah.
See, that is the thing. The need to ensure that others are not discriminated against or suffer.
Congratulations to her.
Kabisa. This Ugali story, we'll park it for the time being. I want to look at the story of the what?
Helicopter.
Helicopter. Kwa sababu, many stories abound when it comes to these helicopters that are supposed, or vehicles, the air vehiculars that are supposed to belong to the police. There's an amazing story sometimes back. Remember, when terrorists were having a field day, when the Reke squad could not be go to where they were supposed to go. Garissa. Because what had happened?
Helicopter ilikuwa imeenda up and down kidogo.
Yes, a senior police officer had decided that helicopter would take his family to the south coast for all day. Yes. Can you imagine the bizarre nature of it? But what is even more bizarre is this, that of all these vehicles that you hear, I'm calling them vehicles very deliberately, some of them, they're only for Sindio. But many of these ones have actually been farmed off to other agencies.
This story, continue.
No, please. I allow the interjection.
Remember, around 2021,
yes,
there was a directive from the president.
Yes.
That all air equipment
belonging
by the Kenya Defence Forces, the Kenya Wildlife Service, the Kenya Police, if NOS had any, were all to be managed by one.
That is what they said.
Unit, the military.
Yes.
Okay? So they all became entered one pool.
Yes.
So what is this story saying? That in that pool, only police helicopters were not being serviced?
No. The story is about is the police airwing. The airwing existed.
Of course, the airwing no longer exists because it was now closed and taken to somebody else.
Yeah,
unless the story is now trying to bring our focus back into, you see now, because Kitu ilienda, because state capture.
There's something they've written here, but I am going to actually interpret it as I see fit.
Okay.
There was a police airwing.
Yes.
Okay. It was determined that all aircraft should be under one wing. I don't know why they didn't put Kenya Airways there as well, because since they were putting everything in it. But over time, of the 24 air assets that actually were owned by the police, bought for and owned by, from 2010, they're only now 4. So now, are we being told that when they were then shunted off to this one big happy family conglomeration of aircrafts, that one, they were now being serviced better, they were now, the police were in a position, service was in a position to benefit more from this? What were we being told? There must have been some thinking behind it. But the net result is that whatever was the thinking behind setting it up in the first place was shunted aside. And the police, not only don't we hear of the airwing, we are not certain what it is that the police would do in the event that they required. Because I'm assuming...
Okay, I think that's where the story would be. Is this story saying that because the helicopters are now no longer under the command of the police airwing, the police have been hampered in their operations? Are we saying that, for example, police wanted to go to Baragoi last week, but wakaitisha helicopter wakaambiwa hapana, helicopter imeenda na KWS Manyani?
Yes.
What is the story?
We're saying that the police is no longer capable of managing anything that requires air support.
Nonsense.
That is what they've said here.
Nonsense.
You know, I didn't write this article.
Yeah.
I'm only reading. But why do you say it's nonsense? I want to hear.
Because I'm not hearing that story. I have a sense that this story is slanted to pull the favor back to the police having their airwing.
I see. If that is what they're doing, it's a good thing.
Right? And they need to justify. So what is it? How have you suffered from...
But what was the justification of removing it from what it was?
If they were having 17 aircraft and they only 24, were they using them on a regular basis? Was there another incidents where, for example, KWS needed a helicopter in an emergency and they were not able to get a helicopter?
I don't think so. And that actually now begs the question, so why did you need to put them under one? I mean, interdepartmentally, one could always get
maybe not, maybe not.
But then, what's the guarantee that when it was under one, whatever it was under, that now you're able to access it?
That's what I was hoping that the story would be comparing, not just saying, we no longer have airwing. Now we used to have how many helicopters. Now they only have 4. So with those 4, are you saying that you're not able to do your job as police?
No, we're saying that this department is dead.
Yeah, let it
because
die.
The police don't actually own the
aircraft.
Because somebody in procurement in the National Police Service cannot order purchase of spare parts. Because somebody in procurement cannot go to Eurocopter now and strike a deal for purchasing of new helicopter.
What I wonder is it when you purchase things for the disciplined forces, is it under one umbrella?
No.
Or is it police separate?
You see, initially...
Army separate?
I think initially if it was...
Air Force separate?
Like
Navy separate?
Maybe now... management, procurement, and all the things have been brought under one roof. And people who were initially in control of procurement only for police equipment, who could go and buy a Eurocopter and bring a serviced Eurocopter or a second-hand Eurocopter for the police, now no longer have say in this. People who were doing the same for KWS now no longer have say in this. They are all under one pool where you are just one member of a team that is deciding how many helicopters we need for police, KWS, and NYS, and Jeshi. Your story.
Are the helicopters available? Are they there?
The 4 are there.
There are 4.
The other 4 have been
grounded.
Well, no, not grounded. They've been spread around. But you see, there was a Maraga task force that also touched on this particular subject.
Yes.
And among the people who were spoken to were the Kenya Defence Forces.
Uh-huh.
And they said that the reason why the action that was taken and why it is that this airwing was then transferred to the National Air Support Department.
There you go.
Was because they did not have the capacity to maintain those...
police.
They were not able to. They didn't have the technical know-how or just the wherewithal to be able to support this wing. That's
why they took them from them.
Well, that's what they said. Well, giving them to people who are able to do these things. Yes.
Okay.
You would go to airwing pale and find a helicopter has been grounded. Imetoka rivet.
Yes. Yeah.
Kitu ya kurudisha rivet.
Sukaze tu nut. Wajua spana hii. Kilipatia nani juzi na hajarudisha spana.
Surely, these people. Remember the story of the Pepsi boss who died in America?
Yes.
Who was cremated even before the family had heard about it. And then it turns out that he had adopted a 33-year-old man.
That 35-year-old.
Yeah. Now that 35-year-old man has said, oh, by the way, me, I don't even want to inherit. In fact, me, I was forced to write that. The Tanzanian at the center of the tussle for property owned by former Pepsi Cola director William Mutilangi Mulwa told police that he was tricked into signing documents that sparked the cross-border assets battle. Bakari Kisalu Malanda, who's facing charges of intermeddling with the deceased person's property, told DCI officers that he has no interest in inheriting the former Pepsi executive's assets, even sought forgiveness from Mulwa's family before being arraigned. Bakari was charged at the Milimani Chief Magistrates Court on February 15th, but is out on a cash bail of 100,000 bob. In a statement recorded with the DCI a week before being charged, Bakari said that on several occasions, lawyer Jimmy Kahudhu asked him to sign documents whose contents he did not comprehend.
And he signed.
Wakili aliniletea makaratasi akanimetia sahihi hapa. Unajua Wakenya wanasema tia kidole, hapana, nitia sahihi. Hasa akatia sahihi. The documents include a power of attorney, that's a legal authorization allowing a designated individual to make decisions on behalf of the executor. The power of attorney was in favor of a New Jersey resident called Peter Nderito Gethenji, which was authorizing Mulwa's cremation despite the fact that an autopsy had not been conducted. Mulwa died October 16th last year in New York. His body was cremated in November last year following instructions by the New Jersey resident Mr. Gethenji, who told Yorktown Funeral Home that Mulwa's son Bakari had authorized the decision. The cremation was done before a post-mortem exam was conducted. Other documents Mr. Kahudhu drafted allegedly on Bakari's instructions include letters to Yorktown Funeral Home and Mulwa's former employer, Pepsi. Later, on several occasions, I was summoned to lawyer Kahudhu's office, and upon arrival, I was requested to sign some documents whose purpose I could not understand. I confirm that I was not involved at all in anything in regard to Mzee's funeral or any other documentation at all. Honestly speaking, I don't have any intention of grabbing or getting the late Mzee's property. I honestly seek for forgiveness in case what I did through my signings of the documents unknowingly let the relatives pardon me and take the deceased's property. The Tanzanian pointed an accusing finger at Mr. Kahudhu, the lawyer. I still confirm that the documents which I signed before lawyer Kahudhu were not known to me at all. While back in Nairobi around February 6th last year, I was arrested by DCI officers from Nairobi area who informed me that I was being investigated over my interference so as to acquire the deceased property, which is not true. Okay. So it basically the guy is saying, lawyer was just coming to me, bringing me documents, signing. Then there's a chap who's in New York. Chap in New York has been given power of attorney.
So he says.
Yeah, by this, according to this now legal documents. Lawyer gets Mr. Tanzanian boy Bakari to sign document. Tanzanian boy Bakari, 35-year-old young man,
just
signing a document, you know,
which he didn't know about
as the son to
yet
this
he
guy.
Signed.
And then, so he's the son now who's giving power of attorney to their family friend, Mr. Nderito Gethenji, who's in America, to, you know, deal with Mzee. Nderito Gethenji goes and processes the cremation, even writes to Pepsi Cola, you know, I am hereby representing
the family.
The family. Eh?
And lo and behold, the gentleman has been cremated, and that story has.
Is it possible that Bakari in this case was just a pawn, and that the mastermind behind this whole thing is Gethenji?
This story, we have not even scratched the surface.
Okay.
Crazy.
This story,
crazy.
we have touched nothing.
Nabado.
Okay.
Nothing.
Okay.
Bado.
Okay. Okay. What? A lot is happening in this particular story. Mr. Kahudhu, in his statement, claimed that after Mulwa's death, Bakari visited his office in the company of Mr. Njoroge. The lawyer says he called New Jersey-based Peter Nderito Gethenji to verify the information and find out what was required of Mr. Bakari. The lawyer claims he later learned Mr. Gethenji had paid for the cremation and was to be reimbursed by Bakari later. Bakari had also said he needed the body to be cremated since he couldn't pay $12,000 to bring the body back to Kenya, as he did not have the money. He said it had been communicated to him that the cremation was only $4,500, which was also much, and costs would keep on rising. So akasema, bana, mzee bana, fanyiwe cremation pale. 7 a.m. Time for the news. As City says, not even scratch the surface on this one.
Good morning, this is Nizwa Dennis Aseto. The High Court has dismissed a case challenging the implementation of the Affordable Housing Bill 2023. In the case, Kisumu-based activist Lawrence Opio had challenged the process on grounds that the National Assembly was unusually and unprecedentedly fast-tracking the legislation of the Affordable Housing Act, ignoring the required public participation. However, the court noted that public hearings and consultation with stakeholders and experts concluded on January 30th, adding that it will not interfere with the legislative making process. A High Court in Busia has declared the recruitment of 1,406 revenue service assistants by the Kenya Revenue Authority unconstitutional, as two ethnic communities benefited immensely from the recruitment drive. A petition filed by Peter Kabinga on October 12, 2023, argued that out of the recruits, 785 came from two communities in Kenya, while 621 came from the rest of the Kenyan communities. The chairperson of the board of directors, Kerry Anthony Moura, was listed as the first respondent, while the second respondent is the Kerry Commissioner General Humphrey Watanga. Now, police in Mwingi's Central Sub-County are trying to unveil a mystery where a man from Kianziani village in Kairungu location, Mwingi Central Sub-County, beheaded his cousin's wife and fled with her head. Peter Muvea Musili is said to have attacked his cousin's wife, 49-year-old Margaret John, with a panga while she was going home from a nearby shopping center and vanished with her head. Sadly, Peter was located and killed by an irate mob 20 kilometers from the scene of the crime after he directed the mob where he had hidden the head of the deceased. The police have collected the body of the killer, and the head of the deceased woman was moved to Mwingi Level 4 Hospital, where the other body parts of the woman had been moved following the incident. And Kenya's Sports Cabinet Secretary Babuna Momba held bilateral talks with the Minister for National Education, Preschool and Sports of the Kingdom of Morocco, Shakib Musa, focusing on sports and the creative arts. Now, the two agreed on the establishment of an MOU between Kenya and Morocco to provide a formal arrangement for cooperation. CS Namamba underscored the need for the two nations to collaborate, noting that Kenya stood to gain from Morocco's advancement in football talent development structure, infrastructure development and management, while also offering Morocco with an opportunity to exploit Kenya's prowess in athletics and rugby. And Kisumu Governor Anyang' Nyong'o has mourned the death of Mayfair Holdings owner Amin Jilani. Jilani, the Mayfair Holdings executive director, parent company of Sunblessed Bread, Imperial Sarab Hotel and Imperial Express, died in the United Kingdom. In a statement by the County Communications Unit, Nyong'o said the sudden demise of the tycoon has robbed Kisumu a great investment partner. On March 3rd, he described him as an astute businessman who has impacted many lives in Kisumu County and beyond. Furtherfield and Somalia has formally joined the East African Community as its 8th partner state, marking a significant advance in regional cooperation. The official deposition of Somalia's instruments of ratification of the Treaty of Accession at the EAC headquarters in Arusha, Tanzania, concludes the admission process as outlined in EAC procedures. During the ceremony, Somalia's Minister of Commerce and Industry, Jibril Abdirashid Haji Abdi, presented the country's ratification instruments to the EAC Secretary General Peter Mathuki. Representatives from Somalia and the EAC institutions attended the ceremony, which emphasized the shared commitment to creating a more integrated and prosperous East Africa. And Ghana's Finance Ministry has advised President Nana Akufo-Addo against endorsing a highly contested anti-LGBTQ bill, warning that it could end up with the financially strapped country losing billions of dollars in World Bank funds. Lawmakers last week approved the bill aimed at severely curtailing LGBTQ rights, drawing condemnation from rights activists despite gaining wide support in the conservative West African state. It stipulates jail terms of 6 months to 3 years for engaging in LGBTQ sex and sentences of between 3 to 5 years for promoting or sponsoring LGBTQ activities. A confidential 4-page document from the Finance Ministry highlighted that The economic fallout could disrupt Ghana's 2024 budget plans. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Traffic started on Jogo Road really early this morning, and we're seeing that spill over towards Landis. And now tailing back on Landis, but look at Haile Selassie. In and outbound traffic is busy. And you ask why? Well, children are going back to school today, so across the country, folks are travelling up and about. It's a busy beehive of activity, and a lot of your, up-country shuttles are here. So that means that it's going to be continuing like that for some time, probably well into tomorrow. So just keeping an eye on that. So you might want to get into the city via another route. So there's that option for you, just so you know what's going on there. It's busy on the Thika Superhighway, well in from Kasarani, through towards the Pangani Underpass. So that's happening. It's bumper to bumper through and through. Kiambu Road is starting to pile up, as it is on Limuru Road, coming in from United Nations Avenue, well beyond the Ruaka, and then in towards the village market, and then out into the city. That is busy. Wayaki Way, busy as well. Let's take a quick look at James Gishoro, which had started to pile up pretty early, and then also spilling over towards the Red Hill Link Road. That's going to happen. We know that's going to happen later. So we're starting to get into it. Let's see what Tuesday morning has in store. There's a bit of a drizzle here and there in some parts, so watch out for that. And then let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start
the Situation Room. How are you doing? Those who are joining us on YouTube, on Facebook, on SpiceFM around the country, on KTN Home, Asanteni Sana for joining us. We are here every weekday morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Okay? It's 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Do you have a plan? We've been asking you, what's your plan? It could be anything. It could be that my plan is to go into farming by the end of this year. My plan is to buy one of these affordable housing homes that has been constructed. My farm is to take my children to school. My farm is to marry an extra wife. Now that NHIF, my plan.
Thank you very much, sir.
My plan is to
have a plan.
Marry an extra wife. Now that NHIF
is allowing us
you can just cover everybody.
As many as possible.
Yeah. What's your plan? And we've been saying ICEA Lion can help you think through your plan, work with you on your plan, and bring your plan to actualization and fruition. And that's the conversation we want to have this hour. David Mushiri is the General Manager, Retail Business Distribution for Life Business at ICEA Lion. He's our guest this morning. David, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Every time somebody comes here for the first time, it's Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year to everyone. Happy New Year in March.
Yes, of course.
Happy New Year.
Great
Welcome
to
the hot seat of the Situation Room.
No, we are very grateful to be here this morning. We are quite excited to have a conversation on planning. Yes.
We'll tell us about that plan story.
Yeah.
But first, City plans to give you the day's proverb.
Okay.
And this week's proverbs are from the kingdom of
Swatini.
And the king is called Swati.
I mean, come on, this is really, really, really interesting. And the people are called Swati. Believe it or not.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. A poor man is hungry after eating.
A poor man is hungry after eating. David, how do you interpret this one?
Now, I want to assume that we are always looking out, and until you are full, until your plans are fulfilled, you'll never stop searching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excellently executed.
So do you think this is it a positive or a negative proverb?
No, I guess it's a positive proverb.
It's encouraging you to remain
people
poor.
To remain searching, to continue looking out for the opportunities which are there.
Keep searching.
Yeah, keep searching, yes.
Keep looking out for stuff.
Yeah.
ICEA Lion. All right. So for many people who are of a certain age and above know those two as two different things until they merged. Yeah. There are people who only know them as one. So just give us an introduction to this.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone, once more. ICEA Lion is a business that has been built over a period of 60 years. We've been in existence. Actually, this year we're going to celebrate 60 years of our existence. We have built a solid business. So it's a license. We have 4 licenses under the group. So we have the general insurance license, we have the life insurance license, we have the asset management, and we have trust. So there are 4 businesses under one group. And you talked about people knowing it as one group. Yes, we didn't start as one group. We were 2 businesses, and we saw the need for us to get more traction in the industry and to get more lion's share of the business that the Lion suggests. And so we looked for the right partner, and we found ourselves merging businesses with the Lion of Kenya then. So ICEA and Lion of Kenya came together to form one business, ICEA Lion. And that's what we are.
60 years.
60 years, yes.
Which is the oldest of these 4 streams of business? General, life, trust, or asset management?
So I would say that we started life and general almost started at the same time. So general was the first one to be licensed. And then the year later, we started the life business. So basically both of them are almost the same time. But the other the asset management and the trust business came thereafter.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is trust?
Trust is, I'll be speaking about it much later, is so when people are consolidating their wealth and their assets that they have built over a long period of time, you might want to actually get somebody else to structure your assets and take care of them even long after you have gone. So we have estate planning, we have administration of assets. So that's what we built around trust, will, and helping people to plan for their retirement. So all these are things that we look at after in trust. Yeah.
Who's the target, or who has, all right, let's look historically, who the target was for, these plans, as it were, and what was the point of coming to the market and asking people to put away a little bit of something for the future?
So, and I think traditionally the insurance industry has been targeting the people who have the ability to pay premiums and people who have assets. But again, the conversation that we're going to have today is on how now we want to demystify that conversation about that it's only those people who have assets that can be insured. We want to believe and we want to trust that everybody has a risk that they carry every day with themselves. And so we would say that everybody is insurable. And that's the conversation that we're bringing with this campaign that we are doing on what's your trust. So predominantly, initially, we were looking at a niche market. We were looking at those people who have the ability to pay, those people who have disposable incomes, those people who have assets. But that we are now throwing out of the box, and we're now encouraging a conversation of what do you want to plan for your future? Can we come in early enough into the conversation, and how can we plan together to ensure that we fit in your plans? And that's what is exciting about this new campaign that we are running. Yeah.
It's disruptive, isn't it?
It is.
Even for your own business. As a business, you're used to dealing with people who have, let's say, a regular income. And therefore, they also are able to make regular payments for whatever plans that you have. And now you're saying, all right, so no matter what kind of situation you're in, let's come and let's talk. That means that you also have to think about the people that you're talking to and whether they actually have an income to start with, whether that income, they have sufficient disposable income, and how you can work together with them over the long term, over the various, phases of their life.
Yeah, and I'll tell you,
that is disruptive.
Yeah, it is. And I'll tell you for sure, disruption in the insurance industry is ripe. And I guess, and I think this is the right time, and this is a conversation that we are having right now, that we have been very, very selective in terms of how we do and carry out our business. But we have come to realize that there's a big opportunity for us to actually disrupt ourselves from within. So the disruption that we're talking about is actually from within. We are looking at our processes, we are looking at the people, we are looking at the products, we are looking at solutions that we're offering, and we have brought out all these ones and said, it's about time that then we look at all these things all together and create a platform that allows us to interact with everyone. And that's why this plan is about bringing on board inclusivity, bringing on board everyone. We are trying to demystify insurance, and we are bringing diversity in it. And that's why we have all these form of colors, exciting colors that you can see in the campaign, so that then we can accommodate everyone. If CT likes pink for that reason,
he does.
And so
he really does, yeah.
So why not? And if that's what is going to attract him to insurance, so why not? If you are a green person, so to speak.
Actually,
How did you know?
How do you know
I know these things. And so we want to incorporate everyone by showing them that we have the right solutions. And that's why we are no longer now calling them products. We are calling them plans. Yeah.
What precipitated this thinking? Because your industry, and the banking industry, are not known to be disruptive. They are known to be staid. They are known to be traditional. They are known to be safe. They are known to be risk averse.
Insurance, for your information, I think is, if disruption doesn't happen, will be a dying business. I can tell you the growth, and you can look at the data. Look at insurance penetration in this market, for example. It's been stagnant. In fact, when you rebase the economy, and I remember we did this several years ago, the insurance penetration moved away from 3.4 to 2.3. So as the economy continues to grow, the insurance business continues to shrink, because it's a factor of the premium that you collect as opposed to GDP of the country. Yes. So the GDP of the country continues to grow. Yeah. The insurance doesn't grow in that perspective. So the thinking around this is...
And why was this the case? Why was it not growing? Because it ought to have grown. What were you not doing right as an industry? Or were you just comfortable with what you had?
I think one of the things, and you've mentioned it right, is that we've been very comfortable with what we get. An insurance premium of, if an insurance company does 1 billion shillings, that's huge, so huge. A bank that does that is actually, I wouldn't even classify them as tier 4 or 5, so to speak. But that's, you start getting an insurance company doing such premiums, they are classified as tier 1 insurance company. But we've realized that the demographics are changing. We have a now youthful population. This youthful population are looking at ways of planning their life, and they're starting early enough. And the conversation right now is easier than the days that we were in before, when our parents didn't know what is insurance. I know I work with an insurance company, and I keep on telling my mom I work with an insurance company. She does not understand what I do. I used to work in a bank, and she understands what banking was all about. But it's a very difficult conversation for me and her when I tell her I do insurance. But now we have a youthful population, and the subject of insurance is becoming known. And I guess then the risks are also emerging, and the risks are also, we're getting known new risks that are coming. And especially because of the adaptation of technology. Sure. We never used to have a cyber risk. And now cyber risk is a very big component of risk. So all these are things that are actually aggravating to the growth of insurance. But I guess the difficult conversation that is in the room right now is then how do we exponentially grow this business? And that's what we aim to do with this campaign.
When you think of... Sorry. No, please. Go ahead.
So then to get there, I think then maybe some of the fundamentals is getting first. I mean, I think you've given a good example here of the likelihood of someone to touch something when they don't understand it, then is lower, you know. So then to understand the concept of insurance then seems to me 50% of the work done. Because if you're saying in 2024, as a group, trying to then say, can we get more people onto this platform? Yeah. Then perhaps half the work is getting folks to understand the concept and what it means. So could you do some breakdowns then? Okay. In terms of, all right, so this is what insurance means, this is what it does. When I have a shilling, this is what I can do for you with it?
You mentioned that we have done 50% of the work, and allow me to just give in a nutshell what we have been able to do, because that's the elephant in the room, and that's why this campaign we are doing it right now. We didn't do it yesterday because we had to look at our back end. Can the back end support the transformation that we want to do? So the insurance systems have been very archaic in terms of technology. But I can tell you right now we have invested heavily in terms of technology. And that's one of the things that we have done and we've been doing over the years to develop as a technology that will be able to carry this business to prosperity. That is one. The second thing that we have done is to look at the people. And the people we recognize are the biggest assets. The insurance business is a conversation that you want to have with an individual. It's unlike banking where it's about daily relevance. Insurance, you have actually to sit down with somebody and carry the person along. So we've done a lot of investing in people so that then these people we can use them to disseminate the information that we are talking about. I'll tell you, we have invested in a modern academy. We call it now the School of Engineering, because we believe we need to engineer our people to the new thinking about the future of insurance. So that's the other thing that we have been able to do.
School of Re-engineering.
School of Re-engineering. It's based in Karen. It's a 100-seater training center, academy, which just deals with people and look at the ability to transform these people from the traditional thinking to the new modern thinking. What we've done, and we started with last year, is to do the culture conversation and align our culture to the new way of doing things. And so the School of Engineering is helping us to build that. Then outside of that then is now, how do we simplify the products? And that speaks to your question. How do you then have a conversation with somebody if the products are still as traditional as they are, and as the products are as they are complex as they are, with a lot of exclusions, with a lot of jargons that are put in between.
Too much.
And now the thinking, and I want this to be your takeaway from this. We have moved away from fixing our customers within our plans to us fixing our plans to the customers. I want to repeat that again because it's very important. That we have moved away from boxing the customers to the plans that we have. To us now fixing ourselves to the plans that the customers have. I'll give you an example. City wants to travel to Maldives in the next 5 years.
Where?
Maldives. I know that.
Okay.
So he has a plan that he wants to execute in the next 5 years. How do we get into his plans? How do we come in as a business to understand the city has this kind of an income, he has this vision, he has these plans that he wants to execute in the next 5 years, and CT has one, he can put in a lump sum with us, and that lump sum then we allow it to grow to achieve the vision that he has. Or number two, he has small monthly premiums or incomes that he can deposit in that account that he has opened, so that then the dream is realized. So all these things is now trying to make the insurance relevant to people's
to the customer.
lives and to
Previously,
the customer.
how would you have handled CT?
Would have actually come and tell CT, we have this scheme, you take it or you leave it.
Start paying to get it.
Start paying to get it.
Hii unalipa X
But-
amount.
Yes, but now we want to work with him and he says, this is my dream destination. This is the amount of money that I have. I'm earning this amount of money. I'm farming in Kitale.
Yeah.
I have a maize plantation.
Yeah.
I'm going to harvest 14 gunias.
Yes.
And this is the income that I expect from that. Out of that, can I get half of it? Can you guys put it in my account to ensure that then that income is growing and I'm able to achieve the dreams that I have for the next 5 years?
Okay.
Yeah.
So that means that we're looking at a reverse today, just as obviously from what you've said.
Yeah.
And that you will then take what a customer says, look, I have this, and I know that I want to either put something away for the future. I know that I have this project that I want to be able to complete or fulfill in the next 10 years, but this is what I have. So you then are tailor-making plans according to what the customer has.
Precisely. You've gotten it.
Okay.
So we are doing the reverse conversation. And If you look at what we have actually invested, we have invested in people who are listening more than hearing. In fact, my wife keeps on saying there's a difference between hearing and listening.
Indeed.
And
she's right.
And she keeps on telling my daughters, you better listen, not hear.
Yes.
And this is what we are actually doing with our people. But we want people who can actually listen to the customers and prescribe a solution together, build the plan together with the customer that will fit to what they're looking for, not boxing them into what we already have. So we are doing away with the products that we have. We're giving now plans that fits into what people are looking for. You might want to buy a car in the next 3 years. How do we help you to do that? Then once you do it, how do we also protect that asset? So holistically, we look at you in terms of your requirement, your financial projections, and fit into it. Yeah.
You know, what you're saying is not just revolutionary, it's very heartwarming. I am glad I'm alive to actually hear it being actioned.
Maldives, here you come.
Well, what makes you think I haven't been there already?
No, you want to go again. It's not on one entry.
Unaweza kurudi.
Already.
You know, there is always a story of a certain untapped market when you're talking of businesses. And we have an informal sector economy in this country. Do I hear you to be saying that the plans that we keep speaking of and we've been speaking of in this studio include this group of people who are in what we call the informal sector, and that given the size and the numbers that they have, it's huge, that this also represents a new frontier that clearly hasn't been tapped in the past? And these are some of the areas that you are now seeking to venture in.
You've gotten it right. I think we are now within what I look at in my area is how do we get these affinity groups? How do we get this business, emerging business that are coming? So we have invested a lot in consumer education, so to speak. And I'll tell you, those are the people who actually need insurance more than Eric here. Eric might be able to replace his income if in a very short period of time. But take the case of informal settlement of informal businesses, where traders are faced with this risk on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And they're looking at how can I build my income sustainably? How do I restock in the case then an issue was to come? So we have created a platform for them now. As low as, as minimum as 500 shillings, you can actually be able to do on DigiTrust, which is one of the products that we have within the group. But you can actually put in a savings of 500 shillings on a daily basis. And that can help you as your income is growing. It can help you in case of need for you to educate your children, in case you need hospitalization, in case you need food to put food on the table. And all these things will come when we now start onboarding customers now digitally, which we have started already doing the same. So all these things are there, and we are...
it's the new way of thinking.
It's a new way of thinking.
With this example that you've just given us, somebody running an informal, but let's say they're hawking, they run all those risks that you've said, and you're encouraging them, please put aside 500 bob every day into this particular plan. What's the difference? Sell that against the SACCO person who's telling them you can also invest the same 500 bob. Why buy the plan and not put this money in a SACCO?
Number one, we are not coming to say that we are going to replace what financial sector is doing, the banks and the SACCOs. We are offering a different mode of savings.
Yeah.
And you know that as a country we don't have a very good culture in terms of saving.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at and what we are saying here is that we are coupling and wrapping up that saving with an insurance offering. So that then in the case then, which the SACCOs will actually not do, you just get your savings plus the interest. So we are saying this 500 shillings, we can actually take it and wrap it with an insurance offering, such that then in the case you had a dream and you had an inspiration and you had a vision to build a home, for example. I'm inspired by a story of border riders who in Anyuki went and bought a piece of land out of their saving. And every day they will save 100 shillings. And that 100 shillings will accumulate to huge funds. And those few funds, then they went and bought a piece of land, and now they constructed homes. We are now getting into the same conversation and saying, we can actually give you a platform where you put in as little as 500 shillings to start with for now.
Right.
And I know with the technology, we are going to go lower than that. You can put in 100 shillings. And these 100 shillings, you want to replace your motorcycle.
Yeah.
But in the case, then an occurrence was to happen, either death, disability, or anything else, and you don't have, you will still help the family to realize the dream that you had. If your dream was to build a home, for example, and that is curtailed by death or disability, will still come and fulfill that dream. So we are wrapping all this with a protection.
Insurance.
With a protection. In fact, we are now moving away from calling it insurance to protection, because that's what it is. And it's easier for people to understand that. So wrapping it up with a protection that will allow people now to realize their dream of what they envisaged in the past.
Brilliant. Let's take a break.
Yeah.
It's 7:30. David Mushiri is the General Manager, Retail Business Distribution for Life Business at ICE Lion. He's here. We've been talking about the plan. What's your plan? And asking what's your plan and saying ICE Lion can help you walk through that plan. We've brought him here now so that he can explain how they can help us walk through the plan. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
You tune into Kenya's biggest conversation. My name is Ramanyan.
Amen. Amen.
So 1 hour is over?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It gets over
Can you imagine
in 20 minutes.
what the big boys have also done?
I'm very proud of myself. When you understand about partnership in politics, it's like the way marriage is these days. When you're looking for a wife, you're like, maybe you can help me pay for fees as I pay for the rent.
Why should you have a lioness living in your bedroom? I have to tell you a story. I went for a prayer meeting, which was called for the spouses of candidates for senators and governors. And when I got to the gate, the lady who was the secretary, she refused to. She's telling me, no. Leo tunataka wa mama. Leo ni wa mama. I'm telling her, no. She said, no, sio siku yenu. And I thought, there's a problem here, because if it was a man, but this was a lady.
It will be called First Ladies until you change the name.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
The weather with
sunny conditions in Nairobi at 17, highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 27 in a sunny Nakuru at 16. It's 15 and sunny in Nyeri with highs of 26, while into Eldoret at 16, we'll see highs of 26. Mostly sunny conditions at 28 in Mombasa, going to highs of 33, and we'll see highs of 33 as well in Malindi, where it's sunny at 29. It's 19 and sunny in Kisumu, going to highs of 30, while Kakamega at 17 is sunny with highs of 30. It's a sunny morning at 21 in Kampala with highs of 28, while at 27, Dar es Salaam is mostly cloudy with highs of 32 and lows of 26. We're looking into Johannesburg, where it's sunny at 19 with highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 34 in Mogadishu, where it's sunny at 29, 13 and cloudy in Addis Ababa, going to highs of 23, while Lagos is clear at 27. We'll see highs of 33. 33 will be the high in Kinshasa as well, where it's currently cloudy at 24.
Spice up your life.
Okay, so we're looking at traffic. It's busy on the Thika Superhighway coming into the city this morning. It has been for some time, and it's going to get even stickier as you come towards that GSU junction. And so it's bumper to bumper all the way in from Kasarani at this point. On Kiambu Road, it's busy as you come towards Muthaiga Square, and on Limu Road as well. Busyness. Wherever you look, Waiaki Way, busy. All right, so what's happening here? Langata Road is touching a little bit, then going into the city, and it's also coming in heavy on Raila Odinga Way. Ngong Road, busy as well. That Landis problem going towards Kamkunji at the roundabout and then onto Haile Selassie, not yet over. So just remember that as you approach the city. Okay, have you found a good route this morning? You might want to let us know. Let's talk about it on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Our conversation continues with David GM Retail Business Distribution at ICA Lion. We're talking about the plan. What's the plan? David, you talked about your own experience talking to the older people, your own mom, and saying, I work for an insurance company. And she can see, but she doesn't really connect with what exactly you do on a daily basis, right? So how would you sell insurance to the older people? And how would you sell insurance to the new people who have never even taken up any kind of product?
Yeah, that's a very important question, Eric. And for your information, insurance is not new. Even long time ago, people used to practice insurance. It's only that it wasn't formalized. The day that in some cultural practices, somebody would say that, can we get a child from somebody else? That was a way of diversifying the risk. and even today, what we call the inbreeding, if you have a heifer and you don't want it to do crossbreeding, you actually transfer that to your neighbor who has something else different. So that's a form of insurance, so to speak. My mom, when they come together with the other women in a social forum, and they contribute 100 shillings every Sunday, what are they doing? They're doing a form of insurance.
Or when they support someone who is unwell, somebody who needs to go to school, somebody who has a medical problem, and they come together. That's exactly what
that's insurance, yeah. Yes. In fact, and this is what we are trying to debunk, the conversation around different forms of insurance that people are taking. Because the day that my mom meets with the other groups and they contribute money just in case one of them gets an incident, and that money goes to help the family, that's a funeral expense, or what we call last expense. So this conversation now, we actually bring it home. So we still want the groups to meet socially because that's what they like most. I've tried to tell my mom there's no value when she contributes 100 shillings every week, every Sunday. But she tells me there's something else that I get from that group that will not be...
It's not the 100 bob.
It's not 100 shillings. It's not. No. So we still want people to meet. But can they meet? And when they meet...
It's the social capital.
It's a social capital, yes, as you're saying. Can they, as they meet, have a conversation around, can we take this money from the treasurer who keeps this money at home? Can we give this money to an insurance company where they'll give us a plan that will help any one of our members in case anything was to happen? Right. So that's a conversation that we are now eliciting, where somebody says, Citi invests in her daughter and says, this is my retirement package. How can Citi now start having that conversation and move away from thinking that the daughter is an investment plan? How can he start putting savings towards his retirement? And retirement is not a conversation for people who are 60. Retirement is a conversation that people should start even immediately when you get a job. So immediately
you actually even start college. Not even get a job. As you start college,
precisely,
you should start thinking about your retirement.
Precisely. In fact, that's what we are doing. We are even giving platforms to students who have a way of if you're given 1,000 shillings by your parents, can you save 100 shillings towards your plan, which will be that you want to buy a laptop. You mentioned about your daughter. At the age of 25, maybe she wants to own her own laptop. Can she start saving a small amount of money on a daily basis, on a weekly basis? And now we moved away from regular premiums, where we used to tell people premiums has to be paid annually. We've broken down now further, and now we can even say even as many times in a day as possible.
Okay. Yeah. So talk to that 20-year-old girl called Latifa who... Yeah, so she's getting pocket money from her father. She's getting support maybe from an uncle and auntie somewhere. She's getting some, and she may get to work a small job and earn some money. To start thinking about saving and insurance. How would you sell it? How would you tell Latifa to come and have a conversation about her plan?
And the first thing that we'll actually do is to listen to, and that's what I said. It starts with a conversation. What are the ambition that Latifa has for the next 5 years, 10 years. It starts there. Then if she says, for example, she wants to, in the next 5 years, to have moved out of your home, we start planning and saying, what do you need to start with when you move, if you are to move out from your father? And the person says, I need a laptop, I need a TV, I need a sofa, I need this and this, I need rent. So then we work back and say, this is what you're looking for at the end of course, you subject that to inflation. And say that in the next 5 to 10 years, you'll be moving away from your parents. Can we start? This is how we break down. If you put this amount of money, either on a daily basis, if it's possible, or on a weekly basis, or even on a monthly basis, this will allow you to fulfill your plan. Okay. That's a conversation that we're having. Yeah.
What guarantees or sureties then do folks have for their money, whether it's the 500 shillings or the 10, or the 10,000 that they're putting away? Yeah. The guarantee that your money is safe. And then, of course, the big question always comes in: what do you do with this money that we give?
That we give you.
Let me start from
what do you do with our money.
Let me start with the last one. What do you normally do with your money? We put that money in a pool. Your 100 shillings is 100 shillings, your 50 shillings altogether. We put them in a pool. Then we look at opportunities to do investments that will guarantee the highest return. So your 100 shillings, you might actually take it to the bank and they don't give you any interest. But your 100 plus his 100 and his 50 put together forms a large pool, which we now can say, can we invest this, whether offshore or within the country? Whether we do public sector lending, or we give it to the banks, or we look at all the one that will guarantee the highest return is where we're going to put the money with. That's where we're going to put the money. Now, to the question about how safe is your money, we are a AAA rated insurance business. Okay. I'm sure you haven't heard that in insurance. In East and Central Africa. We are AAA rated. I saw that, and I listened to you yesterday in the morning when you're talking about the credit rating for financial institutions.
Yeah.
That tells you that our business is solid.
Okay.
The business is solid. We have very strong governance. We have very strong underlying financial assets, to make sure that when that need arises and when we have to pay you the money is available.
Okay.
So that is something that we have actually done and invested. The insurance regulator requires that capital adequacy of 100%. We have actually gone 3 times, multiples of 3 of that requirement. So for every shillings of liability that we might incur, we are putting aside 3 shillings to take care of that.
Yeah.
So we are not only covering you 100%, we have gone ahead and ensured that we have overprotected in case the liabilities were to come.
Okay.
Yeah.
So usually, of course, with a plan, then you're saying that for a duration of time, then the individual is going to service this plan, meaning that you give the I'm going to use a fancy word, which I hear means how much you put in. So long as you continue paying your premiums, Abi, you service this. The expectation is that you keep doing this. But what if something happens along the line whereby maybe you need to change a little bit? There could be a reduction in how much you give. There could be an increment in how much you give. What happens to your plan?
So we have 2 types of investment within the group. We have investments that allow you to put a lump sum. That lump sum, then there's no, of course, doesn't in that case lapse. You can actually come and withdraw that money wherever you need it. That's available within our investment division. But then there's this plan that you have and you've set aside and say that I want to educate my child when the child gets to grade 9, for example. So for the next 9 years, I'm going to put in this amount of money on a regular basis. We are constant as a business that anything can happen in midterm.
Yes.
So what we've done is that we give an opportunity for people to come and later in life to reinstate, to come and say, this is where I had reached. Can I pick from where I stopped? Can I continue with the plan that I had? That's one of the things that we do. The other thing that we do also allow is to say, let's sit together with you and work on a plan that will make sure that you're sustainable in terms of meeting your obligations. Yes, you are paying 50,000, but this has happened to you. Can you reduce that to 10,000 shillings? That's something that we are actually able to accommodate. And that's what I said. We are no longer selling insurance products. We are selling, or rather we are incorporating, or we are doing plans together with you. Yeah.
I did mention that I was going to ask you about, now, individuals like myself who are a little long in the tooth. Someone who has reached the age of 60 and above, what sort of plans would you have for such a person? Somebody who has insurance policies in the past with you or with other insurance companies and they've lapsed. No, forget the other companies. They're not here. It's you. And they've lapsed. What does one then do in such a case? Is planning only for people who are young, or are there plans for people who are getting along with the years like myself?
That's why we say this plan is inclusive, because we want to bring on board everybody. Our bread and butter has been on the corporate business, where we have people in terms of retirement schemes. Mm-hmm. But we decided to ride on that capability, the same capability, the strength that we have to get into the retail space and the younger generation and people across the different age set. So to answer your question, we have plans that allow you to get regular income on a monthly basis. So you can invest in a pension, you can invest in something called annuity, where you buy an annuity, which allows you to, on a monthly basis, to have a pay, the normal pay that you are getting. Mm-hmm. Let's say that you are getting a salary of 100,000 shillings. We can build something that will allow you, even after retirement, to get 100,000 on a monthly basis. Mm-hmm. That's the same conversation for if you want to withdraw a lump sum. Mm. You have a project, so there's something called income drawdown. You can come in and say that I want to pull out. Let's say instead of 100,000, this time I want to have $1 million shillings. So we allow for all this flexibility to happen, and that's why I said this conversation about planning is not age based, because now you can start building your retirement today. Yeah.
Who regulates you?
We are regulated by Insurance Regulatory Authority. Mm-hmm. We also, because of the pensions, we are also regulated by RBA. Mm. And to a very great extent, because we also have businesses that are also touching on within the group and the larger group. There's a linkage with other regulators and other players within the market. Mm. Yeah,
like a Capital Markets Authority.
Capital Markets Authority, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier about the investment that you've made in preparation for this new campaign. You made a heavy investment on staff, on making sure that people understand the new thinking of the company, of the group, the new thinking of what you talk about plan. I'm sure, having worked in the insurance industry for many years, you've heard many people complaining to you like, bana insurance guys, sometimes you people just send off people who don't really understand the products that they're selling, and they've come to us and they're saying, this is the thing that we are selling, it will benefit you A, B, C, D, and if you have any other questions, you don't fit in. So how have you explained it now to the staff, such that if they're talking to me, to anybody, they will listen, they'll understand exactly what I'm saying, and they'll be able to tailor a product that matches me without now going back to the office. Wacha tuende kwa ofisi. GM amesema hiyo hatuwezi mwaka.
So for the last 1 year, the biggest conversations that we had internally was aligning our new thinking to our new culture. So we sat down to redefine our new culture, our new way of doing things, our beliefs, our traditions, our ethos, our practices. And we said, these are some of the things that we will not do, and these are some of the things that we will do. And we've created it within the organization and said, if you do this, this is a red warning, it's a sign that you are not aligned with the new culture. And then we encourage people by giving them green cards. Just like in a football match, you get a yellow card and you get a red card. So we say, if you get a green, this is something we are happy about. This one we should proceed with it. If you get a red, this is something that is calls for you to rethink, calls for you to reflect. And so that preparation has come with a lot of aligning to the new ways of doing things. And one of the things that we have invested a lot, as I mentioned earlier, is training. The School of Engineering is equipping our staff to reflect on a new thinking and new ways of doing things. And so everybody has actually is that are taking a course in the school of engineering, to ensure that then we are able to prepare our people for the next phase that we are getting ourselves into.
What kind of training do they actually go through? Like, take us through a module of the School of Engineering.
There are different types of training. The very first one, and a very big component, is building trust. How do we build trust with our customers? And that has been one of the biggest challenges within the insurance industry.
Yep.
Trust. And that's why, to your question in terms of penetration, trust has really contributed a lot. So how do we... Sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to ask, how are you suggesting that there has been mistrust?
Within... And this has been the biggest disconnect because of us not creating solutions that speaks to the customers. We create solutions for ourselves.
You've been elitist.
So it makes it very complex at the point of a claim to pay.
Yeah.
Because did you fit within our plan? That's a conversation. Did you play by our rules? That's a conversation. If you go outside of the rules, then we say this is not payable.
Yeah.
But now we are calling you to the table and saying, come, let's break the rules together.
This school that you speak of, I'm interested in your curriculum and what you teach. Yeah? And I'm also interested in how it is you teach people to disseminate what it is that they learn. And if indeed in planning all this, you have had some sort of research processes to give you an idea of what input will be required to get the desired result that you want.
R&D is one of the biggest investments that we have made within the group. And I can tell you, majority of these decisions that we are making are informed by research. And it tells us these are some of the things that we should do, and these are some of the things that we should not do. So in the school that I was talking about, and I didn't mention that, other than trust, we have a curriculum that talks about customer. And customer is a wide topic. From products, solutions, plans, to how do you service the customer, and how do you make sure that you do not only retain that customer for today, but you use that customer as your referral, a model. And our business has actually used referral as one of the biggest marketing tool that we can do. So these are some of the things that we are actually building within the academy. Yeah.
So Peter is in Embu and is asking, are you available across the counties, or must I come to Nairobi? Now speak about that, and speak to the young people who, even if you're in Nairobi, in Westlands, and they're in Westlands, they do not want to come to your office.
So they wouldn't come, yes, as you mentioned. So we have a microsite that allows us to interact on the web. You can get there, plan.icelion.co.ke. You can interact with that microsite and...
Say that again. Plan.icelion.co.ke.
That will allow you to actually get to interact with the various plans that we have in place. That is one. We have also onboarding capabilities that now we are rolling out on digital through USSD. That's something that is actually almost been finalized. We are part of the conversations that we are also having is partnerships. And I didn't mention that partnership is also something that we are really, really working hard to bring on board. Today we are working with a lot of independent insurance agents. We are working with a lot of banks. We are working with telcos. We are working with SACCOs. And then we have our agents. So we have about 2,000 financial advisors. So the reason why we call them financial advisors is because we have trained them to start thinking of people's finances. And so they can be able to give you a plan based on your finances. So we have about 2,000 of them. We have about 19 branches. We have 19 branches cut across the country. So from Meru to Nyeri to Nairobi, we have about 7. We have in Nanyuki, we have branches in Kisumu, Kisii, Kakamega, Kericho, Nakuru. And we are rolling out additional branches. We have branches in Mombasa also. And one of the biggest thing and a carry-on call from this is these plans that we are doing, the biggest, this execution of this strategy will require more foot soldiers on the ground. So we're opening up to about also another 2,000 agents, financial advisors. So we have opportunities to train and put them in class, about 2,000 of them, so that then we can, this information needs to reach out to as many people as possible. So we've only managed to get to about 200,000 people. So we want to get to 50 million people.
You can.
And through the digital, but of course, we'll also have to use the traditional distribution models.
Sure. Yeah. It's interesting because, of course, looking at earlier this morning, and I think we tie the two, that we know that a good percentage of Kenya's population is in the informal sector. And that means that very many things are as a result of that. So folks are undocumented, folks are unbanked, and then there's little awareness when it comes to some of the financial moves that you can make. However, from what you've said, it doesn't preclude folks from having a plan. It doesn't matter that you don't have, your 2.5, this, that, the other thing. You can actually get onto a plan. So how would you then bring in and create a situation where people who are not in the formal sector can have a nest egg for the future for something that they want to do if they understood the building blocks to this thing? How can they also be brought in whereby insurance becomes a norm going into the future? So
what we're doing in this we've implemented in the last couple of days is we are working with affinity groups. So we realize that these people are in an organized setup already. So because we can't reach and scale, we might not be able to actually get to every other person. So we bring them together through their association. And through that, then we sit down and have a conversation with them. And out of that, then we are able to come up with solutions that will, or plans that will actually be able to speak to their businesses. So, for example, if we go to Kamukunji, the people who do the sufurias and mabati boxes in Kamukunji, and I go and talk to the chairman, and I say, I want you to bring on board your members for what we call consumer education. And we disseminate information that is relevant to that group. We wouldn't start talking about very high premium conversations. We discuss about their daily requirement. What is their plans? What are they looking at? It's part of the risk that I've seen within that group is that they are so concerned about one of them when one of them passes on. How do we transport the body? How do we cater for the funeral? So instead of the treasurer going around with a book and a piece of paper collecting 50 shillings from everyone, we are telling them, because you have a capability to collect these things, why don't we have a regular conversation where you can put in these 50 shillings with us?
Imagine, for instance, these associations that go beyond the workplace. As you're speaking, I apologize for interrupting, but I'm looking at these associations that exist in tertiary educational setups, whether it's university colleges. Many of them tend to be regional. Kano, Students Association. Sagana, Students Association. Okay?
Yeah.
Marakwet. Now, it's an association. The aspirations aren't any different. But they already have the groups for you. So it makes it easy to work with.
Precisely. And that's what we're trying to do. Actually, if you look at the future of insurance, is these affinity groups. How do we get all these groups on board? So we are doing a lot of work to actually get those affinity groups, bring them together, and then see whether they can also be a distribution touch point for us.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And because there's also trust already built within the groups. Precisely. It's a big thing. David, thank you very much for joining us today. Yes, we've now understood what it means when you talk about the plan and thinking about your plan and talking to ICEA Lion about the plan. It's important. Remember, plan.icealion.co.ke. Visit that microsite. You'll get a lot more information. David Mushiri, GM Retail Business Distribution, ICEA Lion. Good morning, 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has asked Kenyans to utilize government services at Huduma centers across the country, promising that the root administration is determined to increase the facilities. Speaking at Ngobite in Laikipia, East Laikipia County, when he launched the Makutano Huduma Center, Gachagua said such facilities helped the public access all government services under one roof. At the same time, the DEP urged counties to move their services to Huduma centers for easy access alongside those of the national government. More than 130 services are available in 53 Huduma centers in 33 counties. At least 60,000 people access services daily in the Huduma centers. Now, Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Affairs, Musalia Mudavadi, has urged African countries to support the Kenya's bid for the chair of the African Union Commission. Addressing the African Diplomatic Corps in Nairobi, Mudavadi said Kenya will use its leadership of the AUC to foster ties, including in trade and investments between African countries. Kenya aims to participate in the upcoming AUC elections in 2025 to leverage its position within the African Union to champion institutional reforms and advance the Pan-African agenda. Members of the minority in the Senate have protested what they describe as hypocrisy, disregard of the rules of the House, and contempt directed at the minority's leadership in the House. Addressing the media after the reflection retreat to assess the performance of the last two sessions, the leader of minorities, Stewart Wanzayo, together with the Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna, accused the office of the Speaker of bias, especially when it comes to debate on bills that concern devolved units. He argued that the legislative process in the Senate has completely been captured. Roads and Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has called for discipline among motorists as they use the roads in a bid to avert road carnages. He stated that disregard to traffic rules such as overloading as the cardinal cause of road accidents that continue to claim lives of Kenyan road users. He called on Kenyans to uphold collective responsibility in order to ensure that the country doesn't witness more loss of lives through road accidents. The Transport CS, in a separate communique shared on his X account, maintained that the National Transport and Safety Authority and the National Police Service are embarking on a nationwide traffic enforcement aimed at educating citizens on road safety protocols. Now, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is set to unveil its National Health Insurance Fund draft report today. The report seeks to expose the weak links that have led to pilferages within the organization. The anti-graft body has averred that the report encompasses, among other issues, its findings and recommendations on the way forward for NHIF graft policies. EACC in August last year initiated a system audit of the National Health Insurance Fund anchored on closing graft gaps within the organization. The audit, according to the anti-graft agency, won't examine the fund's procedures, policies and systems in order to find a highlighting structural flaws and vulnerabilities that encourage corruption and unethical behavior. Now, Interior Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo has launched the Kenya Coordinated Border Management Program aimed at combating organized crime and strengthening border security. The program, developed by the Border Management Secretariat, focuses on emerging technologies targeted at fostering both national and international cooperation to strengthen border security. It will also be crucial in combating organized crime activities, particularly along the nation's border, as well as other threats that undermine the country's peace and national security, to promote sustainable development. And President William Ruto will today officially open the special plenary sitting for the East Africa Legislative Assembly during the inaugural sitting of the Fifth Assembly. The 63-member state assembly will hold its sittings in the country for the next 3 weeks to consider reports by different committees. The 3-week session, which ends on March 20th, will hold its debates under the chairmanship of the IALA Speaker Joseph Ndakirutimana. Ndakirutimana, who was speaking in Parliament buildings, told journalists that it will be a full tray during the special sittings. These are some of the stories that you're following up for you today. We shall be bringing you the very latest in a subsequent news bulletin. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
It's a few minutes after 8 o'clock and we're looking at traffic coming in heavy in the city this morning. Coming off the Thika Superhighway, it's heavy then through towards the junction coming from Outer Ring all the way to the... What is this place? It's the Pangani Underpass. Also, we're looking at traffic on Kiambu Road coming in from Karua Forest Gate C. That is very heavy as you're coming through towards Muthaiga Square. And we're looking at traffic on Limuru Road. We are into traffic hour proper, and it's coming in heavy into the city from Westlands as well. Langata Road, Uhuru Highway, and then going towards Raila Odinga Way. Yes, it's crazy this morning and likely to continue just so. Let's take a look at what's going on Haile Selassie inbound traffic, outbound as well, because of a lot of the travel. It's still happening, just to give you a heads up about that. All right, eastern and southern bypass is looking good, just in case you want to go the long way to where you're getting this morning. Think about it. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the
7 after
Situation
8.
Room.
Good morning and
the
welcome
only way to
the
start your
Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room. On this Tuesday, the Financial Tuesday, before we continue with our insurance conversation, let's remind you about banking. And it's important to think about how many branches that EcoBank has in the country.
In the
35 countries.
Continent.
In Kenya alone, there are very many branches. If you include agency banking, you have access to EcoBank in over 200 places in this country alone. And then you can now replicate that into 35 different countries in Africa. And get out of Africa. Go to the UK, you find them. Go to France, you find them. Go to China, you find them. Go to
Emirates.
Yeah.
You thought, huh? I was going to ask.
The United Dubai.
Yes, is it near Dubai?
Yes. You will find them there as well. Yeah, and they're saying it's a better way.
Better Africa.
A better Africa. So this Tuesday we've decided let's talk about insurance, because just like we're having a conversation in the previous hour, insurance penetration in this country has been very low because of very many things. Among them, awareness. Then there's the others of what the industry itself has been doing, which is what we are also raising. But this time, let's talk about health insurance. One of the biggest burdens anywhere in any household is health. When there's an ailment in a household, now things just start going south. If it's critical ailment, chronic ailment, and there's no insurance, you just start having problems. And that's why we want to have that conversation now. The importance of health insurance and financial stability for you as an individual and for your family. Nyeri Jomo is the CEO, is the Chief Executive and Principal Officer. CEPO. At Jubilee Health. Jerry, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. How are you?
Very well. We want to understand that principal bit.
Well,
You'll tell us.
I am going to tell you.
You will tell us.
Yes.
CT is the Principal Proverbs Officer at
What is the situation?
Standard Group PLC. And today he has the day's proverb. This week the proverbs are from Swatini.
Tini, the kingdom.
Kingdom of Swatini.
Yes.
Please don't worry about these two men. Just
So you give us the proverb.
A poor man is hungry after eating.
A poor man is hungry after eating.
Yes.
We're all looking at you, Jerry.
Oh, my goodness. A poor man is hungry after eating. Can't satisfy a poor man, right?
No, your thinking is right. By the way, the interpretations cannot possibly be wrong.
I think I can already see where you're going.
Yes, because it is your interpretation.
That's true. But it will be hard to satisfy a poor man. That's true. Because perhaps he doesn't even have an appreciation of what's enough.
So we can argue that someone who doesn't have an appreciation of what is enough is poor.
How much is enough?
Good question, isn't it?
You've implied very many things there.
Yes.
But it's okay. We will take it. We will take it.
Yes.
So, you will introduce us to Jubilee Health, and then you tell us this position of yours, why it has another title, another word within the title. So, Jubilee Health.
Thank you, Eric. So Jubilee Health Insurance is the leading health insurance in Kenya and in the region. We are a full house health insurance in terms of the fact that we provide health insurance end to end. In essence, all my staff do health insurance from morning to evening. That's our specialty. That's our concentration. We are part of a group that's a Jubilee Holdings that's been in Kenya for 87 years. And we have a long heritage, started out in Mombasa, and we're part of a bigger group, which is what we call the AKDN group. And health insurance is a language that we speak. Now, to this title called Principal Officer.
Chief Executive and Principal.
Well, Chief Executive Officer, I think it's pretty straightforward. But Principal Officer is actually a role by the regulator, which means that you are the person accountable to the regulator with regard to the business and the operations of the business. So that is why the two roles. So you could be a Chief Executive, but not the Principal Officer.
Not the Principal Officer.
Precisely.
What's that role? And who's the regulator? The Insurance Regulatory Authority?
The Insurance Regulatory Authority, which means you have to pass certain requirements in terms of fit and proper and technical requirements for you to be appointed as a Principal Officer.
What does a Principal Officer do?
The Principal Officer is able to advise the business with regard to technical requirements and ensure the business complies with regulation and ensures that everything with regard to what is technical insurance, because as we go through today, we'll agree that insurance is technical, so that those aspects are actually being implemented as required. So that is what the Principal Officer does. So we remain answerable to the regulator with regard to solvency requirements, with regard to ensuring that we are complying with the Act and the regulations and treating customers fairly, all of those aspects. So essentially, I am answerable to the regulator at every other time with regard to the operations of Jubilee Health Insurance.
You know, for a long time we've heard insurance, and it's categorized into general insurance, life insurance. Where is health?
Good question. And that's a good question. So when it comes to insurance, it's short-term and long-term. And short-term is annual, your annual cover, your car insurance, house insurance. Health insurance will fit in that bucket. And then there's a long-term, the life insurance, education policies, all of those type of plans, which are long-term. So that is the key differentiation in terms of how long typically these insurances will operate. Are they short-term? Are they long-term? So health insurance will usually fall under the general insurance class of insurance. In certain other markets, you'll see health insurance work alongside life insurance. But for the Kenyan market, health insurance is usually categorized as short-term insurance.
Are there different products under health?
Yes, there are very many different products under health insurance. But what then happens is you'll find, one, the differentiation will be in affordability, because, of course, we have to think about products in terms of customer. What does a customer need? What need are we addressing? And therefore then define the product. So the technical product can change as many times as it needs to. with regard to the type. But when it comes to, also different classes. For example, you have products for international customers, people who like to pay in dollars and pounds. You have products for people who want to pay bite-sized, smaller amounts. You have products for SMEs. You have products for corporates. But essentially, the technical product that is insurance is risk transfer. Whatever then you create it around is around the customer segment and the unique needs of that segment.
Okay. It does, even when we look at it and we think about it, it does, you've already premised with that it is extremely technical. It almost sounds like a science. Why is it made to be that way when it essentially is supposed to meet the needs of humans who want a simple solution to their issues?
Great question. So insurance is a science, and we talk about it as a risk transfer mechanism, which means that we have to sort of compute how much risk are you transferring and what will that cost you, because you're handing over that risk. That in the event that it happens, and if we go back to what is defined as Pareto principle, the law of vital few, there are few are likely to be affected. So you take on a pool of people with the assumption that, okay, only a few are likely to be affected, and therefore the premium that you pay or the monthly amount that you pay is the assumption of the cost that would be if all of you are contributing to this pool. But the assumption then is that not everyone gets impacted. So it's a science. But health is even more interesting because I call it a convergence of three sciences, which makes it even more technical. It is that aspect of insurance and risk transfer. It is also actuarial science, which is another entire discipline, and also medicine. So you essentially have a lot going on there.
Yeah.
Our role, though, should not be then, as we keep reminding ourselves, is not to transfer the technicality to the customer, but really break it down to a language that customers understand and can consume. And we often see a strong correlation. We really have to do a lot of work also in terms of consumer education, understanding what they've bought, giving them as much information as they need. And what I'll say is the regulator has done some good work in terms of treating customer fairly guidelines that require underwriters or insurance companies to treat customers fairly in terms of understanding the product, in terms of what they're consuming. And they do hold us accountable to making sure that these things are done. So I'd see, though, that we still have a lot of work to do as an insurance industry. And I must admit, even in this conversation, I can see how insurance still looks like this big thing that we still don't quite understand. But often the other thing is you will find that there's a strong correlation between economic empowerment and the level of economic empowerment and insurance. Because remember, insurance is a risk transfer. You buy a bigger TV, you buy a bigger padlock.
Yeah.
So that is often what happens. You buy a bigger TV.
You start by moving to a bigger house.
You start with moving to a bigger house.
Buy a bigger TV.
So there's that aspect. And also because we also appreciate that financial literacy and that whole culture of savings and the money culture in Kenya is still a developing area. Insurance often tends to follow the same curve.
Right.
Yes.
Let's talk about that trend. For a long time, insurance has been, you get an insurance cover through your employer when you're formally employed, and it comes as a benefit. And you just know, so the people in the organization, the HR and the team, are the ones who decide which company we're going to use as our insurance provider. And then we've seen now individuals taking up insurance, their own personal health insurance covers. Take us through that trend, maybe the last 30 years or so.
Yes, true. A lot of appreciation at employer level on the role that health insurance plays in terms of staff motivation and being able to retain your talent. And of course, as you see, typically a HR is dealing with different kinds of burdens. My child is unwell, or this and that is going on. And we won't even get into the conversation on WhatsApp groups, which I'm sure we all have.
Yep.
If I was to ask each one of you to open, there's a contribution going on here or there.
Yep.
So we've seen organizations really begin to appreciate the role that insurance or health insurance really plays. And not just health insurance, incidentally, it's many forms of insurance. So today when someone is unwell, we find that HRs go out and have a staff cost in terms of in the event that people are unwell, they can take their card and go to hospital. And that has multiple benefits to any employer. One, it is attractive for people to work for you and for you to retain the right talent. And we can't even begin to go into the war on good talent. As long as you're good talent, we're always struggling to retain you for one reason or the other. Having good medical insurance often will help you retain the right staff. But again, it also means it's a cost to the organization, and therefore many conversations go on as to how you help these companies keep the staff costs at a level that they can be able to sustain, right? So that trend continues. We've begun to see SMEs do the same, where because they want to be able to retain their staff and want to keep their employees focused on productivity, then you see them begin to take it on. And that has increasingly grown quite a bit in recent years. There are also individuals as well, some who are covered by the employers, but others who also will just prefer to have a good insurance cover, who say, well, I've understood what that means, so why don't I have one? And incidentally, most of the people who leave employment and go and will try and purchase some form of insurance on their own. So having one, and we like to say it's sort of understanding, having insurance as, I like to call it almost a life and death situation, because at that moment when things are absolutely challenging and someone is unwell, it is emotive. And unfortunately, we don't know when that baton is really badly off. That insurance card becomes that very ticket as to whether you get that bed and start getting attended to immediately. Right? So it is a trend we continue to see with employers, but increasingly it is also something we see with individuals. But we must say, because we've addressed it, the issue of insurance uptake is still not at the right level. We still have quite some way to go. And at some point, Eric, we should discuss the issue of culture and why WhatsApp groups still remain something that
Let's talk about prevalent. That now, actually. Because as we talk about those trends,
yes.
Why is it that, despite increasing knowledge and awareness about insurance, the uptake is still low?
Of the many reasons that people speak to us to why they don't have insurance, of course, there's trust, there's affordability, but there's also the issue of culture.
Affordability?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Well, people will say it's expensive. A perception, maybe, but it's also an issue of information in terms of the fact that actually you can afford insurance for quite very little.
And who gives that information out?
Well, it will be us. It will be us as the
why
industry.
Haven't you done so?
We continue to do that, and as I've highlighted, I think there's still a lot of work to do in that area. But I don't want to lose the aspect of culture. No matter how much information we give, we have this beautiful concept in Kenya called Harambee. So we're still going to expect, I'm still going to expect you to contribute.
And I will and I will contribute. I will most assuredly contribute.
Yes.
The reason why you see me giving you these rapid fire questions is because if I look at the business of insurance and I look at what it stands for and what it offers, there are very few things that can compare with it in terms of benefit.
That is true.
So why is it that this very wonderful thing hasn't been made available to anyone who needs it, and that is literally all of us? And why is it that the uptake has not increased? Again, now, I'm going to be accusatory here, and you'll forgive me, but it speaks of comfort within the industry where people are okay with what they have, so they don't really want to venture out. And yet, there's an entire frontier that hasn't even been tapped.
True.
How do you change this thinking? Because now it's not the culture and the thinking, it's the culture and the thinking of the industry.
True. So culture and thinking, and we'll touch on it on both ends. Do we have work to do as the insurance industry? Absolutely. And it's good we're having an insurance morning today. So I think this awareness then continues to be a continuous conversation. And the beauty of it is we're even in an era where health insurance is the biggest conversation in Kenya today with the Social Health Insurance Fund. So there's really an appreciation as to the role of health insurance for economic development. That is there. Are we comfortable as insurance companies? I will say, having worked in the industry for about 2 decades now, absolutely not. If I was to look at every strategy discussion for almost every organization in this industry, there's every intent and conversation, and to a large extent, action to drive that uptake. Perhaps the issue is, do we still have the right levers? Are we still getting there? Because I think there's a lot of comparisons between insurance and banking, but we must strike a big difference between what these two are. You can do without insurance. You may not choose to do without a bank account or some form of...
Really, I thought it would be the other way around. I can do without having a bank account, but I cannot do without insurance.
I will say you're
one comes out as a cost and the other one isn't. One is like, I'm putting my money and I can access it. This other one, I put my money and I'll only access it if I fall sick.
But that's now where the industry has failed to communicate what they actually do, because it is not true. You actually can access the money. And there's this additional thing that the bank doesn't quite give you. It's called insurance. You see? That's why I termed it, there's this wonderful thing that you have. It's a beautiful product, and I am still shell-shocked. Those who are in this business have this wonderful business, and for some reason, they're actually quite content with the little they have. And what they have is really little.
Is that what you're saying, Jerry, that, every time you try this, then you're confronted with culture?
Culture is a real issue, and it's something we see quite often in terms of the expectation that other people will take care of my issues. So those WhatsApp groups will not go anywhere, because if I'm unwell, you'll contribute. But what will change that dynamic? And we see it in markets, for example, like South Africa, for things like funeral. We see the aspect where as disposable income strains, people are not able to afford to contribute. The intention is there, but they cannot. And I think that will begin to change some major aspects about what we do or do not do around that.
The one thing I've seen about human beings for the length of time I've existed on this planet, they always have money for what they want.
Yes.
Okay? Somebody wants to drink alcohol, will not eat, but he'll drink his beer. Okay? We look for reasons to justify the positions we've taken, but it's not the truth. It's just us justifying. If we really understand the import of it, why do parents sell everything, including the sufurias, to take children to school? Because it's important. So you're telling me that if you were to tie in what we consider to be culturally important, like taking children to school, having funerals, having weddings, and you tie it in with insurance, and somebody understood how this actually helps them meet these needs that they have, you're telling me that they would still shun it. No, it's the way you sell it.
No, you may be absolutely right. As I've said, we cannot run away from the fact that we have stayed away from breaking down basic concepts. We are still technical, and that's what I've said. There's a lot of work to be done in terms of speaking English or speaking a language people understand.
So how,
right?
So can we do that here? Because I think a lot of times when we are trying to break things down, I think we still want to be caught up in the jargon. So for somebody to depend on a Harambe, for example, there must be a preconceived notion, true or otherwise, to their reality, that this insurance thing is expensive, or that healthcare is expensive.
Or inaccessible.
And the only way for them to access it and pay for it is if people come together and give a little bit and it forms a pool. That thinking did not come out of a hat somewhere out of the blue. It is somebody's reality. So if we are saying that actually the opposite is true, that it is actually affordable, which you said, it is affordable. How affordable is it? If I must go to hospital today and my son is going to be admitted for malaria and is going to be treated, how much money will I have to remove from my pocket? Or if I'm going to pay Jubilee an X amount every month, what is that going to be in order for the incident in which my son gets sick that then I have to pay?
Good question. So the concept of Harambe is actually a form of insurance. Just to go back to that, it is. So essentially, it is already an alternative. The question is the sustainability of it, but I think that we can always have the conversation on. Now, how affordable is health insurance? There's cover as low as 500, 600 shillings a month for you to be able to have insurance in Kenya today. And regardless of whatever you want, because there's different aspects to how we want our treatment. Some of us want to be in a private ward bed if we're admitted. Some of us, private room. Some of us want to be in a ward bed. Some of us want elective CS. Some of us are okay with a tier 2, tier 3 hospital. All of the simulations go into what you choose to buy as health insurance. So it is extremely affordable. Even if you did choose your high-end cover, including international covers, the market today provides an opportunity for you to pay monthly or in smaller installments in what we call insurance premium financing. So the barrier really should not be affordability. On the conversation of access, today, we do find that, and if you work with us at Jubilee, you find that access is even at your bank level. Your bank will even be able to offer you a Jubilee health insurance cover. Your insurance agent, whichever, we have over 2,500 agents in Kenya today, they will be able to talk to you about it. We are online, whichever way you want to be able to access it. But again, the aspect of breaking down and making this, as I've said, English, becomes where the real work is in terms of helping the person understand, what have I bought, what does this mean, and how can I optimize this insurance for it to give me full benefit.
Let's get into that conversation into greater detail shortly. 29 after 8. Nyeri Jomo is the Chief Executive and the Principal Officer at Jubilee Health Insurance. She's our guest this hour. We are talking insurance today, and this particular hour, the importance of health insurance to your financial stability. I mean, we all know this, that we are contributing one day or another every week to something health. We all know that we're having this whole shift conversation and national debate on 2.75, 1.75, 0. Whatever percentage. But what's the importance of a health insurance cover? And how does Jubilee, the largest health insurance company, not just in Kenya, but the region, and the region is how wide?
It's East Africa.
East Africa, the
Yes.
9 countries or the 2 or the 3?
We're currently in 3 countries in
Okay.
Kenya today. Yeah.
Okay. Largest in those 3 markets. You have a thing or two that you know about health insurance. You'll teach us all about it. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. And hii mambo utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
18 degrees, cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. We'll see highs of 26 and lows of 17. It's sunny at 18 in Nakuru. We'll see highs of 28 and highs of 26 in a mostly sunny Nyeri at 18. 17 and sunny in Eldoret, highs of 26 and lows of 14. And Mombasa is sunny at 29 with Malindi sunny at 30. Kisumu sunny at 22, going to highs of 30, and we'll see highs of 30 as well in a sunny Kakamega at 20. All right, looking into Kampala, the sun is up at 23, highs of 29, while Dar es Salaam raining this morning, however lightly, at 28 with highs of 32. It's 20 and sunny in Johannesburg and 30 and sunny in Mogadishu. Cloudy conditions in Addis Ababa at 16, and we're looking into a mostly clear Lagos at 27 and a partly sunny Kinshasa at 25.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Done right. 94.4 Spice FM,
All right, so what are we
Nairobi.
looking at now? It's been a busy morning on these Nairobi streets, in and out of the city. And if you're coming in on Langata Road this morning, then you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say it's bumper to bumper from Huru Gardens out towards Aerodrome and then touching on Huru Highway. Jogo Road is busy. Landis Road now has packed a pretty punch all the way from the City Stadium roundabout through towards the Kamkunji roundabout and spilling over towards Haile Selassie, which started early in the morning. On the Thika Superhighway, traffic has just cut out from the GSU headquarters, and that's coming in from Outer Ring. And it's busy on Kiambu Road, busy on Limuru Road, and coming in from Wayaki Way, it's a totally different story. Lower Kabete then going out towards Westgate, and then coming in from the back of Sarit Centre. That's busy as well. So all that whole network of roads doing the thing today. Hey, look, it's the Digwa. There's some traffic coming in from there as well this morning. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
27 minutes to 9, our conversation continues with Jerry Njomo, who is the CEO and Principal Officer at Jubilee Health Insurance. The importance of health insurance. More and more people looking into getting health cover, okay? But then there are all those barriers. There's one which is that feeling of comfort that I already have some form of insurance in the name of my family. But even that is changing. If you look at the NCT was given as this example, where because of NHIF and the 500 bob, that even those small groupings would tell people, okay, we will contribute but you have to show us that you've actually been contributing to NHIF. So even that is changing in terms of people saying, I want to see what you've done for yourself before I start coming to support you. Have you noticed that as well in terms of now people coming and asking, so munaweza nisaidia aje?
Yes, the knowledge on health insurance and the role of health insurance is something that we're increasingly seeing. NHIF has definitely played a role, and we expect social health insurance to continue doing the same. And it's interesting because there's two levels, and we consider that perhaps health insurance is a public-private good. It's not one or the other. The government provides a social layer, and then the private sector then comes in with its additional layer that provides the bells and whistles that you prefer. Do you prefer a private room? Do you prefer this and that? So that will be something that we continue to see progressively. And there's often, as I've said, a strong correlation between the level of how well people understand, finances, and how well they undertake insurance. And again, as I've said, bigger TV, bigger padlock. As they continue to appreciate the role that health insurance plays in terms of how it helps them balance their finances, then that perhaps we see their appreciation grow more and more. But I must touch on why we are very particular about insisting that we all want just one hospital bill away from poverty, Eric. You see, it's not just, and you've said it, it's all those WhatsApp groups. It's those friends you have. It's your relatives. It's your friends. It's one of them ending up in hospital, and the conversation becomes my conversation. It is about me doing it. And increasingly, as we all contribute to each other, the strain then begins. And we're saying the conversation really must change from us meeting in hospital and saying, when does dad get out? When does he get out of hospital? Because the strain of the finances is coming, to really saying, how will he get better? And our focus becomes more, it's really an emotive conversation if you think about healthcare. Becomes about helping this person get better as opposed to the strain of the finances in that particular moment. So yes, we are seeing an appreciation of health insurance increasingly growing, and we expect that to continue.
And it's true what you say, because many times even here of people saying they don't want to go to hospital because of the cost, because they're thinking, if I start going to the hospital, what is this going to do to my family, to my children? Everybody's going to start having to contribute to get me better. I have been diagnosed with a chronic illness. This is like I saw so-and-so, I saw what happened to that and that family. Now it's coming to my family, and people already feel that this is a bit too much. But now, do you make it easier for one to enter into health insurance? So let's compare. NHIF 500 bob, Chief is going to 300 bob. Okay? Can I do 300 bob with Jubilee?
Yes, you can be able to do 300 shillings. Again, as I've said, it's down to what do you want? Because the idea is to understand the kind of cover we should tailor for you in terms of the kind of hospitals that should be there, the kind of benefits you want. Do you want maternity in there? Is dental and optical one of the things that you do want? It's really, most of the time, really created down to the kind of need of what you're looking for. And affordability is a critical conversation for all of us in terms of how much can you be able to afford. Because when we discuss personal financial planning in general, we discuss various components. Are you budgeting? But also, do you have protection in terms of, is there a risk transfer? Have you protected your health, the things that can disrupt your investment strategies? So then you can go on to decide, is my investment strategy going to take care of short-term needs, long-term needs? The challenge of discussing investments without taking care of your insurance needs is that you're more likely to break your investments trying to address a short-term need. For example, you have 2-3 pieces of land, and we see this all the other time. Something goes wrong, and what are we doing? I don't know, it's called quick sale, isn't it? Distress sale. That doesn't give you an opportunity to optimize on whatever return you had made. But if we take care of the smaller needs, which is your health insurance is covered and whatever else you need, your car insurance, whatever else is immediate, then again, it allows us to take on investments for whatever horizon we can and be able to optimize whatever return we had intended. So yes, today it is able to work with customers at whatever price point to be able to give them the right level of insurance. For us is to be able to ask you to get the conversation started with us, and then we can be able to help you get the right one that fits what you're looking for and also your budget.
What kinds of conversations are you having with the unbanked or the informal? Because, again, the premise is that come have a conversation with us and tell us what your wants and needs are. And that's not on the horizon for a lot of people who are struggling for. And then we also find that, unfortunately, this subset of people, critical for them, critical for a lot of people today, not even just the informal, is can we eat today and then be able to sleep somewhere? right? And in the event that sickness occurs or that hospitalization is required, we already know what the one go-to solution is. So who's having conversations with the majority of the population today that is in the informal sector? Remember, we play this against other jurisdictions where the majority of the population is in the formal sector. And so now we have the flip. Who is having conversations with them to get them to understand, okay, we're trying to get more people on the grid. But who is saying, my sister, if you give me 20 shillings a day, in the event that any of your children or yourself gets sick, this is what it means. When shift is not working, when, like the examples we were given yesterday of somebody who wants to deliver and has to, for God's sake, cross a river on whatever, and then doesn't even know when she gets to hospital, she'll find a bed, right? Those are the real conversations that we're having today. And when we talk about the need to balance, the private sector comes in there as well. So who's having these conversations and breaking it down for them?
The conversation on microinsurance or the lower end of the market is perhaps has really been an ongoing conversation for the last 5 years in terms of what kind of solutions best fit this market, how can they be able to pay, how do we package solutions that cater for them. Today in the Kenyan market, we have quite a number of microinsurance solutions that cater for the bottom of the pyramid and the lower end of the market. However, the thing with health insurance, just like most risk, is the issue of population. You want to be able to get scale for these solutions to make sense, because you're discussing 10 shillings, 20 shillings, and so on. So there's a certain level of scale that makes sense. And therefore why, usually for this kind of schemes to work at an optimal level, they'd be government-led in terms of it should be a social layer that is cross-subsidized by most of us, and then whatever else is a top-up. So in terms of literacy and them understanding the role of health insurance, those conversations continue, and there's quite a number of initiatives, including with us at Jubilee Health Insurance, where we are saying, how far do we want to go? Can we be able to provide cover for 100 shillings for that person who only wants to go to a community facility and gets treated? So the good news is those conversations are going on, and there's been quite some traction in the last couple of years, but we are still not there yet in terms of the number of people who should be covered. The ideal situation will be that social health insurance is able to do its part in that we have a layer that takes care of, and we're not worried about that person in the village, that person who would really want that cover as a must-have, that person who doesn't choose like you do the facility to walk up to. That person then has cover and essentially is able to have a good quality of life in terms of healthcare. And then every other aspect over and above that becomes an issue of a private sector conversation on what else can I be able to afford over and above this. But the layer must be social health insurance to support that person across for almost all Kenyans.
So this new structure that has the primary health cover and then there's the social cover, this works if it was rolled out as it is on paper. Because then what the government is saying is that from taxpayers, level 1, 2, 3 of healthcare will be covered for everybody. You feel unwell, you have a headache, go to your nearest health facility and you will get care. If you get referred upwards, you move into the social health. If you get referred upwards into now the critical and others, you move into the critical and others. And now the private sector would come into the middle to upper, right? But even then, the private sector, and you've mentioned something about that in passing, is the private sector having a conversation as together as Association of Kenya Insurers, say, let's come together, let's work on creating a product that, carries the risk for all of us, that brings in this level of people into the next level before they just go and start getting the premium stuff. Is it possible for the private sector to actually have its own social health products?
If we borrow from developed countries that have pulled off this kind of initiatives very well in terms of what a social health insurance structure would look like, yes, that primary layer would work in terms of primary care. Ideally, should be provided at first level of contact. Today, we see most Kenyans going for a cough. The treatment is at a level 5, level 6 type of hospital. Ideally, these hospitals will be taking care of more complex issues that require specialists and require a lot more investigation. So what then that does, it drives all of us to the top tier hospitals for very minor ailments. Ideally, for a system to work, the minor ailments will be taken care of at a primary care level. And then we allow the more specialized hospitals up the chain to be able to do everything else. So that kind of model will work for social health insurance. And we already cross-subsidize in one way or the other through the WhatsApp groups we are contributing. So ideally, some level of contribution to cater for social health insurance for all of us would work. Private sector has made a very strong attempt to take care of social health insurance. You will see almost every organization, Jubilee as well, having microinsurance as a strong conversation in terms of how do we take care of this person at the bottom of the pyramid? How do we provide a cover that they can be able to afford and that gives them the mandatory requirements that they must have to have good care? Primary health care and above that, including maternity and so on. But because of the volume, it requires us to be able to marshal a certain level of population for that level of risk to make sense. Right? So because of the spread of that risk. So typically for the success levels that we've seen, it's often a private sector, public sector drive for social, and then the above, the other additions become private sector. Can it be done? Yes, it can be done. We would, of course, continue to require to be extremely innovative and think completely out of the box to get the bulk of the population into one form of health insurance or the other. For example, as I said, at Jubilee, we have a cover for 6,200 a year. This cover would ideally be very similar to what you would have been paying to NHIF. If we have a certain volume, we're able to drive a certain volume of people, 1 million, 2 million, then that begins to be able to stand very well as a social health scheme.
For the longest time, now I'm taking advantage of my vintage, health insurance existed, yes, but it was a periphery insurance. It wasn't focused on. And of course, one wondered, what was it about health insurance? There were schools of thought that said, well, it didn't really make money. It was more loss-making than anything else. And a big headache.
Too many claims, too many people.
Yes, but I think it wasn't really the claims. It was the shenanigans that go
fraud.
with it. Yes, exactly. Because just straightforward insurance is just insurance. But all manner of clever people are bringing in their clever ideas. And they end up being costly. But then here we are now. We are talking health insurance, and we're talking a lot about health insurance. What has changed?
Well, what has changed is perhaps the recognition of the role health insurance plays in our ability to remain financially stable. It is a reality that the cost of care today is no longer sustainable out of pocket. Yet predominantly, a lot of the costs we're still paying today are out of pocket. So if you look at today, the medical inflation, and we keep saying today in Kenya, we import about 70% of all medical supplies. You then find that any dollar movement, as we've seen last year with the currency devaluation, is a direct hit to the ecosystem and the value chain. The question is, can we transfer this cost to the customer? Perhaps not. So what has changed? I will not say that medical insurance is suddenly profitable. Every underwriter will tell you it's perhaps one of the most challenging forms of medical insurance, of insurances to run. That has not changed much. But we see progress in the level of uptake, in the level of understanding of the role health insurance plays. And as you said, fraud remains a very big issue for health insurance. And mostly because the value chain, of course, has its challenges in that you're likely to give your card, and I'm not talking about UCK, but you're likely to give your card to your brother and tell him, why don't you use my card to get treatment?
Just for today.
Just for today, we can use you as the example. The challenge with that is, of course, it is not you. And remember, it's an assumption that you will use, and on average, worldwide, it's expected that you'll be in hospital at least 4 times. I can tell you we see 4 times in a year, 4 times for an outpatient visit. I can tell you we see on average even up to 20.
Same person, 20 times and so on.
That's a really sick person.
Well, you'll be surprised that there are quite a number who then we must look into. But the fraud remains a very big issue, but it's also the understanding that as you overutilize this cover, as you share, it has an implication on your renewal cost, which means that it's going to go up. So there's that aspect of, as you carry around that card, there's also an aspect of personal responsibility to make sure that you use it well. But there's another aspect that's often not seen about what we do as health insurance. We're also very big on preventative care. We are no longer just on curative. And what that means, we are big on your exercise, your general fitness, and keeping you really out of the hospital. Because the cost difference between when you end up in hospital And the cost difference when you actually are not is night and day. So what you then find is, for us, we have programs that make sure that we are keeping you healthy and making sure that, for example, we say if an adult is walking 7,500 steps a day, we can already be able to attach that to what that looks like in terms of your medical outcomes and what we can be able to manage in terms of lifestyle diseases. So that becomes the value addition that's not seen in terms of we can help you not even have to get admitted. You also begin to see increasingly that our data is showing that in our early 40s, we are now seeing more of the lifestyle diseases. We usually see them a lot later, but now we are seeing the blood pressures and all of this type of diseases a lot earlier. And this then begins to be something that we intervene in terms of saying, how do we keep you out of a danger zone? Because once you start getting admitted, once it becomes extreme, once it's chronic, it then begins to be something that essentially will be draining every other shilling that you have. So can we take interventions earlier to keep you in at a level where you can be taken care of? And for us at Jubilee, we don't just do insurance. And I like to say we have about 7 doctors on staff. And their work is to make sure that you are remaining at a level where you're well. It is not just about getting sick here and paying bills. It's about preventative care as well.
So what do the doctors do? What do those 7 doctors do?
The doctors, of course, as we said, there's a mix of 3 sciences.
Right.
It's insurance, it's actuarial, it's medical. So the doctors then look at the data and we're able to look at the trends because we have data for years that show us what is more likely, who is more likely to suffer from this and that. But when you come on board, we can already be able to tell what are the likely outcomes. And we manage it very actively so that then we avoid a situation where you have to go to the extreme. Again, remember, it is not so much about us trying to get you out of, we don't want you in hospital because we know once you get there, your cover may not even be adequate to take care of what you need.
Yeah.
The idea is to keep you at a level where you are well. So we have a whole flag program called Maisha Fiti, which is really about steps. Can you walk? Can you dance? What do you want to do? Put in that, because at the end of the day, then it reduces your chance of high blood pressure. It reduces your chance of getting unwell and diabetes and all of those things. If you're already unwell, fine. How do we help you manage it? If you already have, for example, suffering from blood sugar, can we give you a way to keep monitoring that at home and help you keep it at a level that you can? Can we work with nutritionists so that we help you keep it managed? So that is the other side of health insurance, which is increasingly a growing area, that it is not until you're in hospital. When you're in hospital, we deal with it. We are working with the hospital to make sure that you're being charged for the right things. The doctors make sure you're being tested for the right things. They make sure that the care you're getting is right. And over and above that you're actually getting better.
Is there an incentive for me doing all these things in terms of how much I pay for premium the next time? The general insurance industry has had that incentive. If you don't claim, then you get a certain percentage knocked off your premium in subsequent years.
Yes.
Is it the same? If I can prove to you that I've been doing 10,000 steps a day and then haven't made any claim at the end of the year, do I get a benefit when I'm renewing my cover?
The straight answer, Eric, is yes.
Okay.
So today we are able to give discounts even for BBC based on your physical activity and what you're doing. We're actually able to do that. You might still go to hospital because it's expected that you may, but of course it will then not be as prevalent as someone who's not putting in any steps. So yes, we are able to give you a discount for that. If you don't claim, we're also able to give no claim discounts. Okay. So yes, there's now not just discounts for not claiming, but also for the fact that you're putting in, you have lifestyle changes that suggest that you're less likely to end up in a major admission.
I want to ask about the major complaints that some of them are even coming in only on insurances in general. You sign up for insurance, you're paying your certain premiums, and then at the point of claim, you're now told, oh, no, we don't cover this one for you. No, this one, you don't qualify for this. You don't qualify for the other. And that's the point when you're at hospital and they're telling you no. Or you have been contributing for so long and then you miss a payment and you're told, you had already qualified for cover for this category of diseases. But now because you missed this one payment, go back 3 years. Let's start that. Please respond.
Good questions, and rightfully so. The thing is, and we've said we have a lot of work to do as insurers in general on the level of education and information we give our customers. And increasingly, we're seeing a lot of progress in this area in terms of what kind of information is given from the onset. So one of the things most insurers do not know, most clients do not know, is whatever cover you take out in insurance, you have what we call a 30-day cooling off period.
What?
a 30-day cooling off period. From the day your policy starts, you have 30 days to review what you have purchased, and if you do not like it, you can cancel.
Okay. It's like a trial.
Because it is.
It's like
You've already paid.
Put in your credit card number, but
I was
we'll not
waiting for
charge
Jerry
you.
to say, if you don't like it, you can come for further discussions. But if you don't like it, you cancel.
No, CK, you come. The idea is within those 30 days, you ideally are also beginning to experience your insurer, and you should be ready for this longer term journey.
Right.
But because it is a contract, there's that window where we say if you change your mind because you don't like this, and during those 30 days, you should receive your policy document. This is essentially the heart of your contract.
Can we have a discussion about that policy document?
Yes,
or
we
is
can.
It's not cast in concrete?
You can have a discussion because you really do need to understand what you've bought. And the beauty of it, CK, I don't know whether you've bought CT. I don't know whether you've bought an insurance recently, but insurance is increasingly in English. So the policy documents, the jargon is dropping off. There's such deliberate effort to make sure that it's something that you can understand.
Small print is now large print.
There's not much small print. We're going to speak for Jubilee in terms of the idea, and it goes back to what I was speaking about, treating customers fairly. The expectation that really we should be able to give customers a good level to understand what have they bought, so they're able to interact with it. It's a purchase, it's a contract like any other, but we do want to make the experience worthwhile.
So what are those exclusions, and why must we have exclusions?
We must have exclusions, and I'll start with that because remember what we said from the beginning. We are taking a sample of people and trying to define the level of risk that these people will be able to take on. So we can put in everything, but the cost will not make sense.
You know, I have to ask, geriatric insurance, I'm heading in that direction.
What's that, City?
Old people.
Oh, she knows exactly what I've just asked. I wanted to respond. It's for ancient crocodiles like myself.
City, I'm not sure you're ancient, but now that you've given us that, we'll start there. In terms of, do we have insurance for seniors? Yes, we do.
How senior?
Well, as long as you're in the cover and you're in cover before you're 80 years old, you're covered for life.
Before you're 80?
Before you're 80. and there's a reason for this. Again, City, we want you to be maintaining your car and you know, making sure it's going for service. But now you can't bring it at the point where it's already... We want to walk this journey with you so that we can be able to help you with your health outcomes. It is easier to help you start managing earlier. But for us at Jubilee, you are going to be on cover for life. We will not be telling you, well, beyond this point, we won't be able to cover you. But I want to still revisit the issue on the exclusions and how people do feel. We have work to do. But I've said, go through your policy document. And increasingly today, there's a lot of explanation. Ask the questions. Understand there will be exclusions because we do not cover everything. Because remember what we do is quantify the risk and price for it. That's a premium that you pay. So you'll have 1 million cover and you're paying 20,000 shillings. If you claim 1 million, not 20,000. So that is why there will be exclusions because we have to frame what we have covered. So the important thing is to understand what does this cover, what does it not, so that you make an informed decision on the purchase that you're making, that you do receive your policy document, that you read it and you understand it. And the beauty of it is you do have quite a bit of opportunity within those 30 days to really understand what do I have, what have I purchased, so that you can be able to use it in a way that it supports you really achieve your better health outcomes.
I wanted to maybe just two of the other products that you then do offer. You've talked about senior care, you've talked about Maisha Fiti. What are some of those others that folks can tap into?
J-Care.
Yes, so the one thing about Jubilee, most of our products do start with J, and J is Jubilee. So it's essentially, for us, as we said, we are a full house health underwriter, which means we do cover end-to-end, whether in terms of affordability or in terms of customer type. So we have J Care, which is a fully fledged health insurance cover. It has inpatient. Inpatient essentially means if you're admitted. It has outpatient in terms of if you're going to hospital for one reason or the other. And it's also able to take care of dental, optical. If you'd like to add maternity, it's able to do that. And you're able to go to any hospital, including the tier ones. It's able to take care of you for that. We have J Senior for the seniors. And this is really for taking care of our parents and as City has told us, so that then we can be able to make sure that they have quality care. And we find that there's such great outcomes because we have programs in case they end up with a chronic illness, we are able to help them manage so that they have a better quality of life. We have J Junior, because sometimes you find that you just need cover for a child. And this is often as you have single parent homes and so on. So we have cover for children from 0 years to 17 years. And this is important because at this stage, they also end up in hospital for a cough, for a flu, for one thing or the other. So we have cover for that. We have covers for SME. We do all forms of corporate customers. We also have international cover. Wherever you want to be treated, whether it's India, in the US, we have cover that is able to do that. And also in terms of budget, whether you're thinking that you really are looking for an affordable cover, what you want is, really cost is not your issue, you're just looking for quality, we are able to do that.
How does one get in touch with you?
What you do is you can SMS the word health to 40643. 40643. Okay. You can send the word health to 40643 and we're able to reach out to you and have the conversation, whether you want someone to come and see you in person, whether you'd like to do it on phone. We are able to do all of that and take care of that for you.
All right. Text the word health to 40643. Talk to Jubilee Health Insurance today. Jerry Njomo, the CEO and Principal Officer, has been our guest. We've talked about health insurance and insurance for a good time. Time for the news, 9 a.m.
Privatize some public institutions while appearing before the Budget Committee in the National Assembly. PS Treasury Chris Kipto reiterated that the program aims to increase government revenues as well as strengthen the standards of organizations that are not performing well.
It appeared only that 11 were being targeted, and the story around privatization is what seemed to have caught many Kenyans asking, why are we privatizing? But the point is that we are doing state-owned enterprises reform program, and in this reform program, we are looking at every entity, those that are making profits like Kenya Pipeline, KPA. We need to sweat those assets and make sure that we have dividends more than what we are getting. So there is a lot that we are focusing, and you'll be hearing more about. There are those that are duplicating roles, which I think for a while we've been talking about mergers and all that. This time around, we need to make sure we do them. If there is merger, we have to merge them. If not, we wind them up because they don't need to exist.
Farmers in Trans Nzoia County have raised concerns about the lack of affordable fertilizer at the National Cereals and Board in Kitale County, led by Julius Bushendich. The farmers have asked the Minister of Agriculture, Mithika Linturi, to address the problem to enable them start planting activities early.
Sisi kama wakulima uko na shida kwa sababu msimu wa mvua imeanza. Kufikia saa hii mbolea ya serikali ile imefikia watu wachache sana. NCBB wamesajili wakulima zaidi ya 14,000 kufikia leo, na kati ya hiyo 14,000 ni wakulima chini ya 2,000 ndio wamepewa mbolea. Kwa hivyo naomba sana waziri anayehusika na mambo ya mbolea akuja hapa Kitale aone, na hapa Kitale ndio gala la vyakula, au jionee mwenyewe wakulima vile wanakaa kwa laini wakijisajili, mbolea ifike mara moja.
They are asking CS Linturi to deal with brokers who have started distributing fertilizer for 3,000 shillings instead of 2,500 shillings.
Na tena kuna brokers ambao already ukimwambia we uko na mbolea anakuambia leta pesa 3,000 badala ya 2,500. Kwa hivyo hiyo ndio kitu imenisumbua. Nimeona jana mkulima mmoja alikuwa ananunua mbolea kutoka kwa brokers akisema yeye ameuziwa kwa 3,000. Kwa hivyo tunataka serikali waingilie kati kabisa ili wakulima wapate mbolea kwa wakati, ili tuangamiza mambo ya njaa.
As students return to school after the midterm break, academic activities at Nyamrundu Primary School in Nyando, Kisumu County have been paralyzed following the effects of floods from Lake Victoria. More than 800 families affected by the floods now want the government to compensate them after they had to move away from their houses in order to avoid being attacked by hippos coming from the lake.
Very early in the morning, hippopotamuses prowl this place like cows grazing, so they can't come early. Then around 2, the water levels rise. It's like another high tide. So by 2:30, by 3 latest, we can no longer stay in the compound.
They are not serious about this. They are just telling us that let us wait until the water recedes. They have what you call the political rhetorics, talking about the people of this particular region encroaching the lake. So it is the lake. They should come and see the paperwork and see our documents that we are the real owners of this land.
In the corridors of justice, and Benson Waziri charged the man who was in 2018 charged with conning MPs will today return to the court as the hearing of his case resumes. Charger faced several counts of obtaining money by false pretense, impersonating public servants, and conspiracy to defraud. He is out on a 1 million shillings bond. The hearing of his case resumes before trial magistrate Lucas Onyina at the Miliwari Law Courts in Nairobi. And in the family court, two widows fighting over the remains of their dead husband will have their case heard today. Both Grace Rigiri and Sarah Kathambi over the burial place for Silas Kamuta Igweta, who died 3 weeks ago. Each woman wants the man be buried at her home. The case is scheduled for hearing today. Elsewhere, musician Wilson Radido, popularly known as Willie Paul, is expected to be arraigned in court following his arrest yesterday. Willie Paul was arrested by police from Syokimau over allegations of hit-and-run accident. Now he is expected to be charged today. We are following up on these stories from the corridors of justice. Be sure that Newswire will be bringing you the very latest in our subsequent news bulletins. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, 9 o'clock, and what's it looking like now as you traverse these Nairobi streets? There's traffic coming off of the Thika Superhighway. That continues just a little bit as you get towards the Pangani underpass. But I think the most painful part of the traffic morning has come to an end. Haile Selassie is still pretty busy. And if you look at traffic that's coming off of Landis, it's crazy. And Uhuru Highway is now taking off from Langata Road, taking in from... all folks are coming in from Lusaka Road, and that's joining in from Langata Road as well. So it's very, very busy. And then we also have traffic still coming off Limuru Road. So we're still in traffic hour, at least for a while. Let's see what happens as we get closer to the end of it. We shall talk on SpiceFM, KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room. The
7
only
minutes
way to
after
start
9
your
on to the
day.
final hour of The Situation Room this Tuesday, the 5th of March 2024. EcoBank, with all those markets across Africa and outside Africa, if you just go into each of those countries and you see the number of branches that they have, and then you think that all those places that you will actually get to a touch point with EcoBank, you're dealing with the same. There's uniformity of service, uniformity of platform, uniformity of everything. So when they say, Africa is one big country, with EcoBank, it actually makes sense.
Actually, it does. Because you can move from city to city, but doesn't necessarily mean that you have to shut down everything for you to continue your business transactions or your banking obligations, etc., etc. So it doesn't really matter where you are, so long as you're plugged into the EcoBank platform. For where there is presence in one of those 35 markets in Africa, you'll be fine and you'll continue as though you never left. Really, it's a better way to do business. And it's a better Africa.
Kabisa. So, City was talking about the geriatrics like himself, the people who belong to the museum. We have brought the PS for museums for the next conversation so that now City can finally feel covered.
Among the dinosaurs.
Yes.
I've just been called an artifact.
We have space.
Yes, space.
Umi's a good sport.
Siti?
Yes.
Sasa hii ni mambo yako tutaongelelea.
Tunaunda.
The Principal Secretary for Culture, the Arts and Heritage and CT is called Umi Bashir. She's our next guest. PS, good morning.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me this morning in the studio.
Karibu sana.
Asante
Welcome to
sana.
the hot seat of the Situation Room once again. You haven't been here this year, so Happy New Year.
Oh yeah, Happy New Year.
Yes, we must always do that.
Yes.
So, Siti, very many years ago, your classmate, no, not your classmate, your herdsmate from Swatini came up with a proverb.
Yes, he did. He wasn't alone. They agreed on this one.
They agreed. You and them,
yes,
you created a proverb.
Yes.
So please give the PS. The proverbs this week, PS, are from Swatini, the kingdom.
Yes.
And today's proverb, City?
A poor man is hungry after eating.
A poor man is hungry after eating. What's your interpretation?
A poor man is hungry after eating.
Yes.
You cannot satisfy a hungry poor man. So no matter how many times you feed him or how much you feed him, he can never be satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
But if you feed him the right content, the right nutritious meals, I think he will be satisfied. So this morning I'm here to ensure that the nation gets the nutrition that it deserves from our art, our culture, and our heritage.
Mm-hmm. The last time you were here, you were the PS for Culture and Heritage.
Yeah.
The arts were not part of it. Now the arts are part of it. Why is that?
Yeah. So there was a new executive order late last year, and arts was brought back home. Why I'm saying back home, because arts has always been together with culture and heritage. So when we came in back in 2022, arts was taken to the Ministry of Sports, Youth, and it was called Youth, Arts and Sports. So now, originally culture was in that ministry, and culture and arts were always together, plus heritage. Then I think we realized that culture cannot be far away from arts, because when you talk about arts, you cannot implement a culture without arts, and the expression of culture is through arts. So finally, late last year, we got back arts, and we're working with the artists. We are working with our museums in conjunction with the libraries. So arts has now come with libraries. It has come with Kekobo, that is the copyright board. It has come with Kenya Cultural Center. And so you see, Kenya Cultural Center was the theatre, basically, was in another ministry, while culture and heritage was in another ministry, which was tourism, wildlife, and heritage. So we're happy arts is back. Yeah.
So now you have the Kenya Cultural Center, you have the Bomas of Kenya, and
Yes.
the other cultural spaces.
Yes, we have.
And you have the other areas that look at our heritage, the museums.
Yeah, heroes.
And heroes. Who are those heroes?
Who are those heroes? Now, these are our heroes since even before independence. Our heroes who fought through the Mau Mau, our heroes who are the sports heroes, the marathoners. You can even be a hero, Eric, yourself.
I think I am.
Yeah.
Actually, the Heroes Act supports that, whereby under Schedule 4 of the Act, you'll find that there's specific, like spiritual heroes. So a certain priest, a pastor, a mufti or a sheikh can be a hero, depending on how they're carrying themselves, how they conduct their services, etc. And the heroes that we have are, of course, like the late Kiptum, who we awarded actually as government last year during Mashujaa Day, and may his soul rest in peace. But we do recognize our heroes. So we have a whole saga, semi-autonomous government agency that deals specifically with our heroes. And it's run by a CEO, a board, it's functional. And what we do is recognize our heroes, award them, and support them even financially as per the Act. So the heroes, working in tandem and in conjunction with the National Museum of Kenya. And even when you go to the Uhuru Gardens, you will find that there's a place specifically, it's called the Heroes Corner, Heroes Square rather. And we have all our heroes and written on that wall. So once Uhuru Gardens is open, I'm sure you guys will go and see and experience it. So, yeah.
Looking forward to that. Also, the last time you were here, now talking about heritage, we were talking about the return of some artifacts.
Yes.
To a community that you took the artifacts to in Kilifi. Was it in Kilifi County?
It was in Kilifi County.
Yes.
So that is what we call the restitution and reparation of artifacts. So what do we do at NMK? Our work is basically to ensure that the objects, even if they're skulls, human remains that are out there, the objects that are in other museums, be it British Museum, be it Germany, be in the States, that we bring back this our assets that belong to us. We have many things that were stolen during pre-independence and the early 19th century, and people who are here took our things with them and proudly are displaying them in their museums up to date. So we recently ratified a UNESCO convention called the 1970 Convention, which deals with the reparation of artifacts, the stolen, the illegal, the artifacts and the objects that are stolen and taken to other museums. Last year we brought back 85 vigangos. Vigangos are basically sacred human objects that are used to identify with a spiritual body that has left us. This is usually in the Kaya forest by the Kilifi, by the Giriamas. I'm sure you know that. And
the Digos.
And the Digos, yes. So you see, when this was stolen and taken to America, they felt misplaced and displaced. You see, they're not used to winter.
Our spirits, ancestors were just already.
So they needed to come back, and that's why we pushed for it. And thank God, the Americans gave some of this back to us. So we're still fighting for more. There's the Pokomo drum. There's the Kiti Chaenzi, which was stolen, and all these are proudly, as I say, displayed in museums. So we are currently working with the Germans to see how we can reparate some of these artifacts. They have many skulls that they collected in Lamu very many years ago. And you see, this was in the Witu Kingdom. There was some sort of war, conflict, and they went with these skulls. So now they are asking for conversation where they can give us back these skulls after many years.
Okay.
Yeah.
We talk about the preservation of culture, and if we can stay there a little bit, Umi, because, that's obviously one of the things that you're tasked to do. Preservation of culture means then being able to hold on to certain artifacts, and then being able to even teach future generations about where they are actually from. So this conversation that we have, or that Kenya has today with the UK, with the United States, with Germany, and all of these other people who came and just took as they like. What's really where it is now? Is it kind of like, okay, well, let's give you some of the things that maybe people don't come to our museums to look at that often, but we're still going to keep some of the star objects? Where is the truthful conversation today?
Well, first of all, restitution is not a walk in the park. It is a conversation that has been going on for many years. For instance, the British are adamant when it comes to giving back what belongs to us as Kenyans and Africa in general. And we have tried to visit the British Museum and see how we can get this back. But you see, it's a multifaceted approach to a solution which we need as a country. So we're working together with the MFA, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and through, of course, the diplomats and the ambassadors that they have across the globe, whereby we can start this conversation from there. So it's there's so much that can be done through paperwork and writing letters and emails and visits. But at the end of the day, it's not a conversation we can have in the boardroom. It's a conversation where we are bringing about the archives of the British, the archives and the libraries of the British in conjunction with the museums, and their acts clearly do not support reparation and restitution of artifacts. Their act is very adamant whereby this belong here. And for instance, it's about 23rd, I think about a week ago, Ghana was told that they will be loaned their artifacts and their objects, and then they can give them back to the British. There's a conversation where there's some sort of neo-colonialism And you cannot just go into the museums, pick these artifacts and leave. It has to be a diplomatic conversation, some sort of foreign policy conversation. So that's where we are right now. And the drums that were confiscated, the Pokomo drums, the Kiti Chaenzi that I'm talking about, these are products and objects that are displayed and making money for museums. And
none of that is ever repatriated to Kenya.
No, they still proudly displayed.
At the UN level, there's even an agency called UNESCO that talks about promoting and preserving culture and recognizing culture.
Yes.
Right? I think NATCOM is under your department, isn't it?
Yes.
The national.
Yeah, in conjunction with the education.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Are you telling UNESCO that we need to have this conversation at UN level where we are not discussing about whether these things belong to Ghana or to Kenya or to Tanzania or not?
Yeah.
They actually do belong to Kenya, so they need to go back to Kenya.
Yeah. So you see, this is a conversation that has been ongoing, but now the implementation part of it is taking a long time, and it's not, as I said, a walk in the park.
Right.
It's something that has to bring the 192 members of the UNESCO, the ones who have ratified the UNESCO Convention of 1970 that discusses these matters of reparation of artifacts and restitution. So when you bring, for instance, the British and tell them, listen, we want our artifacts back, they're not, of course, going to give you back because, one, they're scared of litigation. They're going to take them to court. You're going to demand for something, So what guarantee is there that you're not going to ask for, to be compensated? And when you say you're not going to compensate, when you get these artifacts back, who are you going to give this to? For instance, the Vigangos, we had to look for these family members. We had to look for this community in the Kaya forest. When you get the skulls back from Germany, you have to do DNA. Who does this belong to? Where are we taking this? Not just to take them and place them in the museum. Some can go to the museum, but others have to go to the communities that they belong to. So this is a conversation we've been having with UNESCO in France. And we as Kenya have a seat at the World Heritage Committee. It's a serious committee. And we have never actually, for the first time last year, around November, is when we got a seat at that table. You see, now, this is a conversation now we're beginning to have as a country because the whole of Africa has been having it, restitution, reparation of artifacts. But at the end of it all, how practical is this? And when we are given this, are we going to place them in the museums? Do we have spaces in the museums that we want to place them in? Do the community want these Vigangos back? Do the community want the skulls back? And why were the skulls taken in the first place? So you have to sensitize, make the community understand why you're getting this back. And as a country, it will be a big win for us because this is something that has been tried over and over again. The archives in Britain, for instance, have specifically blocked out certain content in documents where you cannot see, is it Eric, is it who, is it CT that has actually done this sort of crime by, beheading or taking this body from here. So when you go there and visit, I've been there, visited, and there's so much content that is blocked out. And it's hard to get to the bottom of it. And again, they have to amend their act, they have to change their laws. And tell me, why should I do that in your favor? How is that helping me as that country?
Which is why they should be made to. You see, if they will not do it voluntarily, they ought to be made to do so by a body in which they belong, UNESCO, the United Nations and such,
and
the World Heritage Council and such. Because it cannot be a negotiation that because we took this, then we start putting in those stumbling blocks. So if we give this to you, are you going to take them to the community? You have to show us that you're actually going to take them. It's none of your business. If they belong to Kenya, the people of Kenya shall decide.
The man-eaters, for instance, of Savo, who you know the story of, and they're right now, they're displayed in the Field Museum in Chicago. And they're not theirs, but they've been theirs, and they've been there for a very long time. So tell me why I should give you back your objects and how you're going to use them. Are you going to display them? Are you going to bury them? What do you want to do with them? It's a conversation now that needs diplomacy. You can't just go and start saying, give us back. So there has to be some sort of multifaceted approach where we involve not just the State Department of Culture, the Ministry of Gender, Culture and Arts and Heritage, but also Ministry of Foreign Affairs and a whole array of different state departments that.
And what's it going to take to have that done? I feel that, even as these conversations are happening, because not just Kenya. I mean, I think of Nigeria and how they took the Festac mask and how they took things from the Bight of Benin and all kinds of things that they've done. And I think the conversation probably needs to step up a little bit beyond a suggestion of, can you please give us back our thing? No, I mean, can it escalate to demand as opposed to a negotiation? Because it's almost as though it's, please give us back this thing that you took forcefully from us. Because Kenya is a sovereign state recognized by the United Nations, and at some point was even, call it what you want, non-veto member, fine, of the same Security Council of the same United Nations, for which there is a body that works in this same sector.
Yeah, but you see now, the thing is, we had never ratified this convention. So there's you're going to have a conversation where you are not even part of that conversation. You are part of that conversation externally. But now, late last year, upon ratification of this convention, since 1970, we've never ratified. And I think this is now the time for implementing and walking that talk that we've been having for many years about begging and politely asking to have these artifacts and objects back. That has come to an end because we have a president in place right now, His Excellency, who is saying, no, listen, we are not going to sit and have this conversation and hide behind the closed doors. No, we are going to ask for these things back. So first things first, have we ratified that convention? No. Have we ratified right now in 2022? Yes, we have. So you see, that is at least it's a first step for us as government. And I am very positive that very soon we'll be having our artifacts back. Because, for instance, the conversation in Ghana right now is we're loaning you back your objects. It's ridiculous because these objects belong to us as Ghanaians. It belongs to us as a people. We are a sovereign country. So why is it that you are deciding that you will just give us for a matter of time and then give us back?
No, it's okay. You can actually take it and then let me see how you come and take it back after the loan.
But I have to ask this question, even as I'm listening to all this. These are clearly important artifacts. And even when they took them, did they take everything?
No, they didn't take everything.
Yes. Now, where I'm going with this is, somehow because they've been out there, people have valued them. We've seen the value of these artifacts in a way that we would perhaps not have if they were not out there. Now, do we place a value on things we have? I'm not going to go into the 15th century.
The ones that remained.
Yes, and even not the ones that remained, even right here and now. How do we preserve things that we consider to be important? And how do we maintain those things that we preserve? Because I'm calling it, yes, the desecration and the manner in which those things were taken, yes, they had no right. They simply took them because they felt they had the might and they could do so. But we've learned something about the value. Now we can see the value. If it wasn't valuable, we would not be demanding back. How is it that we don't demand the people who were taken as slaves be brought back? Because they were taken forcefully. Well, they're all dead, so they're not really there. But why then don't we open our doors widely and say, as the president has done, and say, so long as you come from this continent, don't worry. So long as even there's a thimble of blood that connects you with this continent, you can come back. What am I saying? There are lessons learned, and the story of repatriation is a good one, but there's an even better story of how we preserve what we have, because it isn't as though these things that are important ceased to exist once they were taken. Over years, we have developed and we have others. So the preservation of these things, given that we've learned that these things are valuable, how are we working on that?
That's a good question. This whole conversation of welcome back home and Kenya being the home of human origins, it did not just come out of there. It came about after His Excellency and the government as a whole realized, listen, we are sitting on a gold mine, where in Turkana, we have tools that the first man used here in Kenya. And we have the Turkana boy existing here. in Kenya. We have the Turkana boy, yes, the original Turkana boy. We are the only country in the whole world that has this. What is this Turkana boy? Turkana boy is almost completed fossil that was found in Turkana, and we have it in our safe. We have locked it in a vault here in MK, and there's no way you can get to it. You cannot even see it. What you can see displayed in our exhibitions are casts and custom made for countries that even buy and purchase from us. You see, we have different exhibitions and different museums, and that is why we're coming up with a science park in Turkana that will now showcase all these assets that we are saying we have, and we're going to lock them up, and you can only see them from a distance. After realizing, listen, these things are making money to other people in other museums in other countries, so it's about time we came up with a park that drives the narrative of when you come back home, you go and see this amazing science park that has all these artifacts displayed. And you see, it's not for free. Researchers still come to us as a country. We make money out of this of these fossils and artifacts that we have in place. Where we have researchers coming across from everywhere, across the globe, just to come and research on a specific skull, on a specific object. And you see, it's not everywhere that you find these stone tools. It's not everywhere that you find these artifacts. But as a country, yes, there's a place where we are not doing very well in matters safeguarding and protecting these artifacts and objects that we have, for instance, in the museum. There is no room that is conducive enough to safeguard and put and display these objects. And when we say we want artifacts back, okay, we are given back. What are you going to do with them? Are you going to make the same money or more money by displaying the same in the British Museum if displayed here at the NMK? So, of course, we have to be objective and think outside the box, because there's always been the narrative of we have this asset, we are rich, we home of human origins, but at the end of the day, will it rake in more resources for us being here or there? But at the end of the day, whether it rakes more money, let me tell you, at the end of the day, they belong home. There are people who have died knowing that there are certain skulls and heads of certain warriors that were not returned, and they don't know where they are. Are they in the British Museum? Were they buried? Where are they buried? And you'll find that conversation will never end, because at the end of the day, I've not buried my great-grandfather. I don't know where he is. But today, if you give him to me, I'm not going to display him in a museum. I'm going to call the community, pray for him, and bury him. So we have potential as a country of raking in more money, bringing in more tourists that we currently have, if we open that science park. And this is a massive, massive project that we're having, we're planning as government.
Let's take a break. We'll talk more about that. What are we doing to protect what we have in country? What are we doing to promote what we have in country? The Principal Secretary for Culture, the Arts and Heritage, Umi Bashir, is our guest this hour. As we take this break, EcoBank is saying a better
Africa
for
you and me, I guess. 35 different countries where EcoBank is across the continent, as well as 4 countries outside of Africa. And if you plug into that one platform whereby even if you move, your banking details don't have to change. You can keep paying your bills in a different currency, but life continues. It's a better way. It's a better Africa.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
I've got a plan to make my investment sizzle hotter than a Sunday barbecue grill. ICEA Lion has a plan for everyone. Talk to us today for a plan that's right for you, or visit icealion.co.ke. ICEA Lion, what's your plan?
All right, the clock says we're coming to the end of traffic hour, but let's take a look at what's going on the streets. And coming off a Thika Superhighway, which has been quite busy this morning, I think we're just seeing the last of it as you come through towards Survey and then out to the city. It's busy then as you approach the Globe Cinema overpass coming in from Moranga Road, and then on Ngong Road, that's also busy. Landis Road's not letting up, not for now at least. I think it's going to be busy for most parts of the morning, and then getting onto Haile Selassie. Connecting with the Uhuru Highway, coming in from Mombasa Road all the way through the city, and then out towards Westlands still continues to be very busy. We'll keep an eye on things through the day. Help us out, folks. SpiceFM KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Going back to that question that CT was asking. So what are we doing with what we have with us here in the country? Like you've said, the Turkana boy, the very many stone tools and items that were used that are in Turkana and elsewhere that have been discovered. Even those historical sites that we read about in books, but children don't even go to visit these places. People don't even know. Think of a place that you studied in school called before.
Growing up in Nakuru, there was Hyrax Hill.
Hyrax Hill.
And then, since you traveled to Nakuru, there was Kariandusi. You see now, most people don't even know that almost every county that they live in, there is a national monument. It's a place.
There's like a prehistoric site.
There are 195 in total. There are many. But most people don't even know they exist.
And if you go to those places, will you actually find something that makes you feel, oh my goodness, I've actually come to a place? Or are you going to find?
No, the ones I've been to, yes. I mean, you may
just a sign there with National Museum.
No. Imagine we have serious exhibitions in these museums, and probably they don't have signage on the highways, but they're there. And sometimes we suffer land encroachment. You find the neighboring communities are even wanting to take that parcel of land. So we need to sensitize our own people to appreciate, first of all, these museums and the assets that are there. When you go in, they're amazing. I mean, come on, international tourists come and see these things and look at them and take pictures and post them on social media. Our own people don't seem to appreciate, our local tourists don't seem to appreciate the assets that we have. And as the National Museums of Kenya, these exhibitions are exhibitions that we are trying to revamp and also make them friendly to even the local tourists and appreciate. Because you just read about these things, and practically when you go there, like, why am I looking at a skull? Why should this skull be buried anyway? But you see, for an international tourist and a scientist and a researcher, they appreciate that. And they're like, can I have an hour with this skull? I want to research on it. And see, our people would be like, no, why would you do that? So there should be some sort of appreciating our assets.
So who should do that? Is that the National Museum's job? Is it the Education Ministry's job? Who's it that should make sure that as I grow up, I studied about Kariandusi. I see it on the way at Elementaita. I see that whole Kariandusi prehistoric site. And every time I pass by them, I'm like, okay, I shall enter here. But there's nothing that makes me feel like I want to enter there.
First of all, we should inculcate patriotism in our children in schools. And we work with the Ministry of Education on ensuring that our cultures are not eroded and ensuring that our children actually appreciate the assets that we have. So the museums that you're talking about, that you've seen and read about as kids, we've all been there. We've all gone for school trips, visited these sites and monuments. And and then what? What am I supposed to do with this? First of all, you're supposed to appreciate the fact that no other country in the world has this kind of materials. No other country in the world has this kind of content. And if you want to become a researcher, which we should encourage, if you want to become a scientist, which we should encourage, and not just tell our children you're supposed to be a lawyer, a doctor, and you'll get more money if you're a doctor, and they're dead. And our children are in a time whereby they are glued to their phones, they're glued to their screens, their iPads, and reading on how Beyonce is a mentor and Jay-Z is a hero, But ourselves, as the National Museums of Kenya, and in conjunction with every other state department in this country, we are trying to see how we can make sure that patriotism is actually inculcated in our children. We're trying to see how the national anthem, and there are schools actually that don't even sing the national anthem anymore. And when we were kids, it was a must. And I'm sure there are some schools that do this, but there are others that don't. And you wonder why. You see, the erosion of culture did not just begin now. It is something that came even from independence. You're told in schools that you'll be given a disc if you speak in Kiswahili. Now imagine if you speak your mother tongue there, you're speaking Kisomali in school. You're done, So it was encourage these children to talk English. We're still doing that today. Even at home, my kids don't speak Swahili, they don't speak Somali, they speak English. And sometimes I'm like, okay, I need to teach these children this language. But then when they come to school, of course, they should be encouraged that there's a session, there's a play, there's skits, there's drama where you can speak your mother tongue so that you appreciate it and don't forget it. And then you can now speak these other languages. Anyway, so us, our work in matters restitution also is to see, after ratifying this UNESCO Convention of 1970, for us, now what we're planning on is the State Department is coming up with a policy, because you cannot just ratify a UNESCO convention and sit. We see now how to get what we're talking about, the artifacts and objects back. And the only way we can do this if we have a policy on matters restitution and reparation of artifacts. And that is our work as the State Department of Culture, Arts and Heritage. Yeah, so...
Is the Tomboya Museum under you? Not museum, the Tomboya statue. In the city center of Nairobi, or the Dedan Kimathi one?
Yes, it is. Yes,
Those
they
ones?
are. Yes, they are.
Now, surely, do those really represent the heroes that those people are? If you look at the Tomboya statue today, you walk by there, the state it's in. Is that being fair to the hero that Tomboya is?
You see, Eric, that's what I'm talking about, sensitizing the people and appreciating patriotism and where we came from. Some people don't even know who this Tomboya is. The statue is there, okay, it's just a meeting point. Where you're in town, come to this statue, just standing under this. But you find people selling clothes, mtumba, they just hang there, At least we have tried as a government to ensure there's a monument in place, as a statue to appreciate this hero. And that's why we have the saga called Heroes.
Are they the ones who are supposed to make sure that thing is...
That is actually an MK. But sometimes we have to work with the county governments.
Okay, but simply, those two, Dedan Kimathi, Tomboya, okay? Where they are and how they're treated. Who's supposed to make sure that at least people can get to sense of pride and feeling of this is Dedan Kimathi, this is Tomboya, there's a story behind him. You can feel encouraged to take your children to go there, to show them the Dedan Kimathi statue and tell them the story of or they can read for themselves the story of Dedan Kimathi. The tourists who come and they're going around Nairobi and they can go there and they see that Nairobi is not only selling that central point, what were we told it's called? The 0 point. The 0 point kilometers begin.
Yes.
It was done by the Muzungu because that's what they decided, that's our 0 point. But we can actually go and see the Tomboya statue.
Yeah, and not very far from that is the archives. And it's also a meeting point. And
it's called archives.
If you get lost...
How many people even know?
Archives.
No, how many people even know the archives exist?
They know the building maybe, but inside they don't know what is inside.
People know that building is called archives.
If you get lost in town, you just look for that big building called the archives. But you see, that's what I'm saying. We need to inculcate patriotism in our children, and that should not be done just by one state department. It's a whole government approach. And even you, Eric, when you come to, when was the last time you were at the museums with your kids?
Which museums?
This National Museum of... You don't even know where is it, Kwanza? Do you even know where it is?
It's Upper Hill.
Imagine. Look at that.
Okay, I know, come on. It's on the way to Westlands. I know it is.
At least it's called museum, that whole area.
Museum Hill.
The Museum Hill.
Museum Hill.
Yes,
so
Hill.
That's why we're working with IGRTC to see how the child in Turkana, a child in Wajir, a child in Lamu can appreciate these heroes by devolving some of these museums. The museums are there, but when a school kid comes for a trip, they come to Nairobi to the National Museum of Kenya. While there's a museum, for instance, the one that we currently devolved in Trans Nzoia, museum now that it will be under the county government and it's sort of coming all the way. You can find everything there. That is cultural, that is your heritage, that are your heroes. And we've also come up with a way that we can work with the Ministry of Education because you see, you as an adult, you know some of this history and you read about them, but our children currently are being pulled into some negative cultures that we never had as a society. And we are scared of, how will this kid turn out to be? But if you tell them the stories of our superheroes and heroines, Mekatilili Wamenza and Dedan Kimathi and and such, you find that the children actually appreciate that. But it should start with you as a parent, because when your kid wakes up, storytelling, you are the one who's supposed to do that. You bring them to school, their work is to learn maths, English, history, yes, it's only what is written in the books. But aside from that, you spend time with your kids. Take them to the museums, take them to Karen Blixen, take them, Fort
But let's
Jesus.
go there and find something that has been well preserved, well managed. Take a child today to Gede ruins in Watamu, right? And you just go in there, walk. First of all, you're fighting off monkeys. And then you find some local guy who tells you, me, I'm a guide, I'll take you around. And you've paid the National Museum. And you walk in there, it's overgrown. Oh, this used to be a house, no proper signage. I mean, it's the basics that I'm asking about, PS. So for Gede ruins, for example, to be made to, this is a must stop if you're in Kilifi County. For Fort Jesus to be made to feel, this is a must stop. Because when you go in there, you'll find a lot more information, not just things that are covered in a glass and you're walking around, but there's a lot more that you feel. If you go to the national museums and children go there, school buses are there all the time, you'll go and they'll learn a lot more. If you go to the archives, like you've said, you'll go and learn a lot more. But if it's not packaged as such, if it's packaged as an old thing,
yeah.
so it shall
Boring,
remain old,
archaic,
boring,
dusty. Yeah.
dusty.
It's for old people, yeah.
And the only guy that you find there walking in the party telling you,
But you see, we're working on that, Eric. What we're doing right now in Gede Ruins and Museum Gede is a historic site. And what we're trying to do, first of all, the monkeys, they are very friendly. I don't know why you don't like monkeys. But you see, they just snatch maybe a thing or two. But then monkeys are monkeys, they are very friendly.
Yeah.
And we are renovating the whole place. The exhibitions there, if you've been there, you've found a whole construction that's going on. What's happening is we are trying to come up with a space that safeguards and showcases our heritage. So when your kids go there next time, probably in another year or so, we'll be done with the construction. So currently, we are under renovation. That is the issue. That's why you see there's nothing much going on there.
Yeah. P.S. I think that the whole one government approach, I think is fundamental. I don't know how it can be, especially with the Ministry of Education, because it is because we're talking about without a deliberate effort, we say in the next few decades, children will have no idea about the history, about the culture of Kenya. None. You mentioned some American artists, just a few, and that's who children are obsessed with today. The same America, their children in school, they are inundated with the history of the America and who their people, is it not? From the time they can say Baba, they're told who their heroes are. They're told about the Stars and the Stripes and the Star-Spangled Banner. They're told all those things from the very beginning. And so it's government working with the education sector to make sure that these people grow up with this sense of pride that's almost sickening to hear, right? But that's what must happen if we're truly going to preserve it. And I know that we'll say that, there's so many other things, there's so many balls up in the air. But if we're really going to say culture to be preserved, you have an entire society that is behind even the government that goes towards these countries to say, give us back our things. It's not just the delegates, but you have an entire nation who understands that culture now, who is saying, you know what? You have no choice but to give it back. That's just one example. But to have a knowing and a culture that when it's time for you to take your kids somewhere, that the first place you will go is where Kenyan culture is ensconced, So what would that approach look like? I mean, don't get me started on the Ministry of Education right now and the things that they have to do. But it looks as though there would need to be that kind of deliberate effort.
Yeah, we have to be intentional, you're right. Because we keep talking about the same thing, making the changes that we need as a country, the monuments. But you see, I guarantee you that we are working very closely with the Ministry of Education. And this is not just, government alone. We need the private sector on board because when I was growing up and when you were growing up, your neighbor had every right to discipline you and put you in check because your mom or dad was not there and you're playing outside and you're doing some fishy business there. So when you're doing some monkey business, your neighbor could stand in and do that. But right now, try touching the kid of your neighbor and you're being taken to court and you're being sued. You see, it has to be something that starts from the home, from the village, from the community. And we used to say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, what was that about? It was not just crazy African sayings or Kenyan sayings that we used to have. But you see, if I'm at work right now, who is disciplining my child? Who is taking care of my child? Same for you. And if we just point fingers and say government is supposed to, at the end of the day, yes, we will do our part, and it's a multifaceted approach where I said we need, Ministry of Education on board, we need culture on board, we need the artists on board. The artists produce so much content. They do it just on their phones and post on Twitter, on Snapchat and everything. And the kids pick from there. So if we have an organized system, some sort of strategy, and say, look, who is our end user? These children need to, what are they supposed to ingest and see? What is it that we can watch? But you as a parent, you're seeing your kid on the iPad, you have no clue what they're watching, and you're okay with it. Then you start saying, oh, the government. So it has to be something that starts in the home. And then when you come to school, we have the teachers who are instilling discipline. We have the patriotism being done. We have arts, we have drama, we have music being appreciated in schools. Now our cultures. The Constitution supports culture more than anything. The Constitution under Article 11 says that the culture is our fundamental functionality, and it is our pride as a country. And what we're supposed to do is ensure that we support our cultures and safeguard them. There are negative cultures. There's FGM. There's forced child marriages. There's cattle rustling that is going crazy across our country. And these are negative cultures which, if you dare touch, you're stepping on a live wire. Because why do you want me to do a certain thing that you think is a cool culture, but on the same side, we don't want to support my cultures? So we have the Ushanga initiative, for instance, where the beadwork for the women and supporting this and empowering the women is what we are doing as a state department. These women, the indigenous communities, use this Ushanga and the bead production as a sort of cash crop, because when you go to Central, you have tea, you have coffee, you have tea in Kericho and the like. But what these women have are these beads. So what we're trying to do is empower them, form them into cooperatives, and ensure that they get money in their pockets at the end of the day. Because culture is not about just dressing in such a ragged manner or and being a cake and being boring. Culture can be made cool. Another thing I'd like to mention is the national dress. We're coming up with a Kenya national dress.
Again?
No, listen, first of all. Okay. It happened, it didn't work. We were not in office.
Sorry.
And we want to make sure as a regime that this is a legacy that we leave when we leave office. And it was tried, it failed. So what we want to do is find the gaps as to why it failed before.
Okay.
So it is not a conversation that we're just going to have in a boardroom and decide, you know what, this is what you're going to wear. No. This is something that we're going to involve all the communities, everybody on the 47 counties, and artists can showcase their designs, and then we can come together. People can compete. Youth can, it's something that we can say what is a common certain design or certain colors or certain creativity that we would need to embark on a national dress. Because this is something that we promised at Utamaduni Day, 10th of October last year at Bomas of Kenya. And this is something that we want to actualize as government. So we want to push for that, so that when you meet me in China, you just don't see my bracelet and say, this one is a Kenyan. You look at what I'm wearing that pulls you and you say, she's not Ghanaian, she's not Zambian, this one is not Nigerian, she's Kenyan. So that is why we need a conversation together with our youths, together with the creative industry. And that is why we have the artists who we really respect and we really support, and we want them to walk this journey with us as government.
I hope this time around we are not going to end up with some government, one solitary, and that is going to be representative. I hope that we are going to have a multiplicity of governments that represent various regions. So when you say Kenyan, it isn't some headgear or some shirt which is a replica of some curtain material. It'll be something that represents the uniqueness of the regions that we have. I am hoping.
Yeah. So we will definitely not have one item that we say this is Kenyan, because it's not going to be possible. What I wear as a Somali and what Kikuyu wears for a Rorashio and what someone wears for a Nikah festival, and these are different, because But you see, we have to be creative and have some sort of, it has to have some sort of common characteristics of a national dress. So this has been tried before, but then we have different rates of passage. For instance, what you do when you have a death, a funeral, when you have a wedding, when you have a birth, different communities have different practices, what to wear, what not to wear. So we cannot say that you must all wear the same thing. And that is why it failed the first time, because they are pushing for one agenda of this, and we're going to have one dress, a Kenyan dress. It's not going to work, because now you see, that's why I was saying, as government, we want all the communities to come together, showcase what you have. Tell us what you have as this, Teso. Tell us what you have as Pokomo. Tell us what you have as the Borana. Tell us what you have. So your creative, your artists, your designers come up with certain designs. And then I appreciate your design. You're from a certain community. You appreciate mine. Wear a Maasai dress outside, a Maasai regalia. You said, this is a Maasai and he's from Kenya, because they visualize internationally that a Kenyan dress is the Maasai dress.
Yep.
So when you dress as a Maasai, you're Kenyan. You see? But you see, that's not it. We have different communities that have different clothing and attires. That's what I'm saying, to bring us together and to bring us together and to make sure that we appreciate each other's cultures and traditions. You bring what you have on board, or you bring what you have to the table as a designer from that particular province or that particular county. We come together and form something that, if it is seen internationally, it will be appreciated. You see, so the reason it's failed before is such gaps, and that is what we are trying to do and to trying to fix moving forward. Yeah, so
the Ushanga initiative, it's been running for a number of years now.
Yes.
What's the impact that what impact has it had on the local communities, on promoting that cottage industry?
Yeah. So the Ushanga initiative has been there for close to 7 years now. And we have a situation where we have increased the number of women who are doing beadwork, because initially there were only 7 counties that are doing beadwork, and we have added 3 more counties late last year. Why we added 3 more counties is we saw the impact that we're having on these counties like Kajiado, Narok, whereby women are actually getting money by selling these beads. But now you see, you have hotels within the Mara who are selling the same beads at a higher price, but the woman who's at the bottom of the pyramid and sitting outside the Sekenani gate does not have market for her products. We have women who have registered. We have close to 1,000 women in the whole country who are doing beadwork and profiting from this beadwork. So what we're doing as government is coming up with a sort of marketing strategy, an application called the Sana application, whereby you in Narok or Kajiado, as a woman who does beading, can sell your products online, and I in Nairobi can purchase them. So some sort of Amazon, but which is still local. And you see, these women do so much artwork and talent. They have so much talent, but at the end of the day, it doesn't get the market that it deserves. Someone in the States wants it, but they have to travel and come all the way, or I have to ask someone to take, and it's a long process. So these women have really benefited, and they use this money from the Ushanga products to educate their children. They use these products to feed their families, and what we teach them is value addition. They have the beads, but you see, they're stuck in the old designs or a certain way of doing things, that this bead is this design. But when we go there and do capacity building for them and teach them that this is the trend. If you go on social media, an artist, let's say in Nigeria, wants a certain bracelet that speaks to his artwork, then you do this particular bead and it will be bought. But if you do this and you continue doing this for 10 years, you're going to get 50 shillings for the next 10 years, which is not feasible. So what we're doing is bringing these women on board and ensure that none of them is left behind. If we look at the kofia, the Lamu kofia, for instance, you find a woman there who is doing this kofia and getting 3,000 to 5,000 shillings after doing this, sewing this kofia for close to 6 months.
Wow.
But then there's a man somewhere seated in Nairobi who's going to receive this kofia and sell it for 45,000 Kenyan shillings.
Yep.
So you find there's a discourse somewhere, and we're trying to streamline that industry and ensure that money goes to that woman who has really worked hard and deserves it. And the industry has been having a lot of push and pulls, because nobody wants to stop being a middleman or broker, because they're getting their daily bread from that.
So when is the app going live?
The app probably by June this year. it will be ready, because we've worked behind the scenes for a long time, and we hope in the coming 3 or 4 months we should be up and running. Yeah,
it becomes like a common app for all arts.
Yes. The carvings, the Kamba carvings, not just Ushanga. You're going to have the Kisi soapstone. You're going to have the kofias themselves and the Ushanga and everything. So you buy from your comfort zone here in Nairobi. You can just, from the click of a button. So that's where we're going digitally. So instead of going to Narok to buy this particular Ushanga, or going to Kisi to buy a particular carving of a soapstone, you find this that you can actually be delivered for in your comfort zone.
And then it goes back to the original in terms of profits going back
definitely
to the
now that's why we
creator.
have the app, because we have the cooperatives, so there are certain tags and certain numbers that this money goes directly to that artist and that creative who has done this work. And the same thing, we're trying to also streamline Kekobo, where you've had this conversation going on, of course, online, where the artists feel like they're left behind and they're forgotten. But trust you me, there's a lot of changes that are going to happen, and the money will no longer be misused or will not go elsewhere. It'll go to these artists, these singers, musicians, and this is something that has been in the works for a long time. And changing legislation is something that I believe and strongly believe once that is passed, then the CMOs will be streamlined, and then we'll have a situation where the artist will no longer be complaining of the royalties not getting to them. There's someone in the middle doing some monkey business. You see, so that will all come to an end, and I'm very positive that that as government, these are the changes that we will bring.
P.S. We thank you very much for joining us. Omi Bashir, Principal Secretary in the State Department for Culture, the Arts and Heritage in the Ministry of Tourism, has been our guest. Thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation today. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow. It's 10 a.m.
Dennis Aseto. Tough times are ahead for top guns in the police service as the David Maraga-led task force has recommended removal of key bosses in the reforms drive. The former Chief Justice's team wants the entire National Police Service Commission overhauled, with all the commissioners sent packing and top police commanders vetted afresh for effective reform. The task force handed their report last November to President William Ruto and has made sweeping recommendations after it found the service a cesspool of improprieties, including corruption, sexual abuse, tribalism and mismanagement. Besides pointing fingers at the top command of the police, including IG Javed Kome, who is accused of not taking enough responsibility in managing the service. The report also serves harshest criticism for the National Police Service Commission. Now, Land Cabinet Secretary